The night wind was mixed with the smell of damp earth. Xu Feng held his mobile phone tightly, and the beam of the flashlight swayed on the dark iron fence. This abandoned amusement park on the edge of the city is like a sleeping giant, hidden in the fog. On the rusty signboard, the words "Happy Paradise" are distorted like a ghostly smile, and vines cover the arches, as if mocking the fools who dare to get close. His heart sank, and the scene from his childhood reappeared in his mind, Jingy holding his hand and laughing on the carousel. The amusement park was still bustling at that time. But now, everything has changed. "Hey, Xu Feng, why are you still standing there? Didn't we agree?" Jianhong patted him on the shoulder from behind, his voice filled with passion. This guy was his best friend. He had grown up with him, and he always looked like he was fearless. Jianhong was carrying a bulging backpack filled with tools, flashlight, map, rope, and even a knife. He shook his phone and said, "I have a clue from my boss here, saying that the ghost house is the entrance, and the place where Jingy last appeared before she disappeared is nearby. Let's go, don't worry about it." Xu Feng took a deep breath, his throat was dry. He was just curious at first. After hearing that Jingy was missing, he browsed countless forums. The ghost stories on the internet kept him awake at night. His childhood sweetheart, whom he had played with since childhood, suddenly disappeared. The police said she ran away from home, but he didn't believe it. Especially those rumors: after the fire in the amusement park, there will be ghosts wandering around at night, and the facilities will automatically activate to hunt down intruders. At first, he just wanted to come and prove it was all bullshit. But now, standing in front of the iron fence, my legs are a little weak. "Jianhong, are you sure this is not a joke? What if something happens? We two ordinary people encounter those legends." Jianhong rolled his eyes, moved closer, and lowered his voice as if telling a secret. "Brother, listen to me, this place has been sealed for 20 years, and there are many secrets inside. Jingy must have been trapped. I checked, and the owner of the garden was suspected of arson and burned several people to death. Tourists. Maybe they are just for revenge. If we don't go, who will save her? Do you want to regret it for the rest of your life?" He pushed open the fence, and the rusty iron door made a sharp creak, which made Xu Feng's body tremble. Xu Feng looked at Jianhong's shining eyes, and the hesitation in his heart was like fog blown away by the wind. He remembered Jingy's last message: "Brother Feng, I'm going somewhere, don't worry." From that day on, he changed from a passive waiter to an active investigator. Unable to retreat any longer, he gritted his teeth and nodded, "Okay, let's go. But you have to listen to me and don't rush around." At this moment, he felt a heat surge in his chest, not fear, but firm courage. For Jingy, he had to be a man. The two climbed over the fence, and their footsteps made a clicking sound on the gravel road. The air around him became sticky, and there was a faint burnt smell, like the aftertaste of an old fire. Abandoned amusement facilities stood in the moonlight, the track of the roller coaster twisted into a weird arc, as if it would collapse at any time. The cabin of the Ferris wheel hung in the air, swaying like a ghostly gondola. In the distance, the carousel's light bulb shattered, and the horse's eyes reflected an eerie light. The joyful atmosphere was twisted into a morbid mockery that sent chills down the spine. They groped their way to the ghost house on the edge of the park. The building resembles a giant pumpkin lantern. The exterior wall is painted orange, but the color is faded and mottled. There are tattered spider webs hanging at the door. Engraved on the door was "Welcome to the haunted house, the brave will enter." Xu Feng opened the door, and the touch of the rotten wood made his fingers numb. It was pitch dark inside, and the flashlight swept through, revealing the dusty fake ghost mask and the overturned prop box. "It doesn't look like much, just a pile of junk," Jianhong said with a smile and stepped inside. Xu Feng followed, his heart beating faster. The air smelled musty and slightly sweet, like expired marshmallows. The floorboards creaked, and every step felt like stepping on a living thing. He suddenly remembered the post on the forum. Some people said that people who went and heard the laughter of children and then disappeared. "Jianhong, slow down. Let's look for clues first." Don't touch things. Come on, you coward. Jianhong turned around and teased, when you were a child, you dared to climb trees to pick fruits. How come you have become a girl now? Come on, the map says that there is a passage behind the ghost house leading to the owner's office. There may be something Jingy has there. He strode forward and pushed open an inner door. Behind the door was a small hall. The walls were covered with cartoon ghosts, and their smiles were distorted as if they were crying. Just then, the back door closed automatically with a bang. Xu Feng's heart tightened, and when he looked back, the moonlight coming through the crack in the door was cut off. Immediately afterwards, weird music sounded in the house, not a scary scream, but a happy melody from an amusement park, mixed with piano and bells, but played half a beat slower, like a children's song crawling out of the grave. The air became colder, and goosebumps appeared on Xu Feng's skin. Jianhong, what's going on with this music? We have to get out. Jianhong was also stunned, his face turned pale, but he still held on. Don't panic, it might have been blown by the wind. Let's go, keep going. He pulled Xu Feng forward, his steps hurried. Suddenly, a strange feeling flashed through Xu Feng's mind, like an electric current flowing through his nerves. A blurry picture appeared in front of his eyes, a black shadow jumped from the ceiling, and its sharp claws went straight to Jianhong's neck. Is that a premonition? Goldfinger? He had had this intuition occasionally when he was a child, but never so clearly. He didn't have time to think carefully and shouted, Jianhong, get down. He pulled hard and pulled his friend to the ground. Ah! Jianhong was stunned. Just as he was about to curse, a cold wind passed over his head. Xu Feng swept away the light of his flashlight and saw a crack in the ceiling, and a pale woman's face flashed a resentful spirit. Her eyes were hollow and her mouth was open, revealing a row of fangs. The claw strike just missed and hit the floor, causing sawdust to fly. The music stopped suddenly and the room was dead silent. What the hell? Jianhong got up, panting, his eyes as wide as bells. How did you know? Xu Feng's heart was pounding and sweat slid down his forehead. For the first time, his foresight saved his life. He transformed from an ordinary person to a capable leader, and his mind was buzzing. It turns out that this ability is real. For Jingy's sake, he had to use it. Stop asking, run away. This place is alive. He pulled Jianhong up, and the two of them stumbled forward. Jianhong's impulsiveness should have caused trouble, but this time it pushed them deeper. He kicked open the side door and rushed into the corridor. Quick, this way. The map says there is an exit. The corridor is narrow, and the walls are covered with prosthetic limbs and blood-stained props, but now they all seem so real. The floor beneath his feet suddenly softened, making a cracking sound. Be careful. Xu Feng shouted, but it was too late. Jianhong's foot missed the point, the entire floor collapsed, and the two of them fell together. Fortunately, there was soft soil below. They rolled around a few times and got up in disgrace. The flashlight illuminated the surroundings. This was an underground passage. The damp walls were covered with moss, water dripped down, and the air was filled with the sweet smell of decay. At the end of the passage, there is a small room with old documents and an iron box scattered inside. We fell into a trap. Jianhong rubbed his arms, his voice losing a bit of energy, but hey, at least he didn't fall to death. Xu Feng gasped, stood up and scanned the room. His courage was stronger now, no longer a blind curiosity, but an adventure with responsibility. He approached the iron box and picked up a yellowed photo. In the photo, there is a middle-aged man with a bright smile, holding a little girl in his arms, and the opening ceremony of the amusement park is in the background. Behind the man, a pile of chemical barrels can be vaguely seen. On the back it says, Uncle Lee, the owner of the garden, and his daughter, Eternal Joy. However, there are burnt marks and a dark red stain on the edge of the photo. This is the owner of the garden? Xu Feng murmured, feeling chilled in his heart. The truth about the fire seems to be hidden here. Jingy's disappearance must be related to this curse. Jianhong, look at this photo. the fire was not an accident. The owner of the garden, he has a secret. Jianhong came over and frowned. Daughter? I heard that the owner's child also died in the fire. Damn it, we have to keep digging. Where does this passage lead to? Xu Feng held the photo tightly, and fragments of premonition flashed through his mind. Deeper darkness is waiting. But he didn't flinch, and nodded. Let's go forward. For Jingyi, we have to find out the truth. Deep in the passage, there was a faint humming, as if the facility was waking up. The buzzing deep in the passage became louder and louder, like an old machine waking up. Xu Feng couldn't help but slow down. He held the yellowed photo, his fingers felt rough like sandpaper, and the garden owner's bright but weird smile still echoed in his mind. Jianhong, what is this buzzing? It sounds like the music of a carousel. His voice echoed between the damp walls, with a hint of uneasiness. The rotten sweetness in the air became stronger, mixed with the smell of rust and mold, making the nose itchy. Jianhong led the way, the beam of the flashlight swaying in the low passage, illuminating the spiderweb-like cracks on the wall. Don't scare yourself, buddy. Maybe the fan is broken. This passage is the maintenance road of the old park, marked on the map, leading to the main square. Jingyi's clues must be in the core area, we have to hurry up. He turned around and grinned, his enthusiasm was like when he was playing basketball when he was a child, it was always contagious. But Xu Feng could tell that his hands were shaking slightly and his shoulders were red due to the straps of his backpack. The two men bent forward, with cold drops of water dripping from their heads from time to time, hitting their necks like needles. The passage gradually widened, and an iron ladder suddenly appeared at the corner, extending upward. A buzzing sound came from above, mixed with intermittent laughter, not the laughter of a living person, but a distorted and sad sound, like a child trying to smile while crying. Xu Feng's heart tightened and he stopped. Jianhong, wait a minute. This sound is not right, Before he finished speaking, Jianhong had already climbed up the ladder and pushed open the top cover. Wow, what is this? His exclamation echoed. Xu Feng followed, climbed out of the passage, and his eyes suddenly opened up. They came to a basement half buried in the earth. The walls were covered with rusty gears and chains. Directly opposite was a half-open door, and the residual light of colored lights could be vaguely seen behind the door. The buzz was clear now, it was the melody of a carousel, slow and eerie, like a stretched-out nursery rhyme. We are under the main square, and the carousel is right above our heads. Jianhong whispered, leaning closer to the door and looking out. It looks like there's no movement. There are still a few lights on. Let's go around. He opened the door and the two of them slipped into the night. The moonlight shines on the square, and the abandoned carousel stands in the center, like a huge colorful coffin. The wooden horse's eyes reflected cold light, the saddle was covered with dust and dried stains, and the air was filled with the smell of old paint and a faint smell of blood. The outline of the Ferris wheel in the distance is blurred, and it makes a low groan when the wind blows. Goosebumps appear on Xu Feng's skin, and he always felt like eyes were staring at them. Jianhong, let's not get close. Rumor has it that this wooden horse will spin up on its own and catch people. His voice was low, as if he was talking to himself. Fragments of premonitions flashed through my mind, blurry images, a spinning horse, and screams. But he shook his head, suppressing his panic. You can't always rely on intuition, you have to be decisive. Ah, what are you afraid of? We rode it when we were kids. Jianhong patted him on the shoulder, his head full of enthusiasm. Come on, walk around the edge. The map says the core area is under the roller coaster at the back. Jingyi must have left something behind. He took a step forward and walked around the edge of the Trojan platform. Xu Feng followed, his heart beating like a drum. Suddenly, the music box in the center of the platform clicked, and the lights flickered. The carousel turned slowly, and its head seemed to come to life. Its mouth opened and it let out a sad laugh. Come and play, eternal joy. Damn it. It started. Jianhong shouted, turned around and ran away. There was a buzz in Xu Feng's mind, and a premonition came like a tide. the Trojan horse is not spinning, but chasing. The railings at the edge of the platform popped open automatically, the wooden horse jumped out like a wild horse, and a pale face appeared on the saddle, the ghost tourist. Their eyes were hollow, their mouths were cracked to the base of their ears, and they let out heart-rending laughter mixed with the cries of children. "Come and accompany us, burn, burn." Heat waves billowed in the air, like fire licking the skin. The two ran wildly, their footsteps clicking on the gravel. The merry-go-round's axle roared as it followed behind, and the horse's hooves struck the ground like thunder. Xu Feng glanced back and saw a red wooden horse's resentful spirit stretching out its hand, slicing the air with its long nails and making a hissing sound. "Jianhong, hurry! Go to the left arch," he yelled, his voice trembling with panic. But he didn't stop, his mind was racing. "Don't panic, you have to take the lead." Jianhong gasped and took out the toolbox from his backpack while running. "I'll stop it. There are iron pincers in this box." He turned around suddenly and smashed the pursuing Trojan horse. The box hit the gear and jammed the wheel axle with a crunch. The rotation of the wooden horse slowed down, and the ghost's laughter became intermittent, like a chicken being strangled by the neck. "Do it! It's done!" Jianhong shouted excitedly, but Xu Feng's expression changed. "The premonition came again, this will expose us." Sure enough, the sound of the gears jamming was like an alarm bell, and all the lights around the square came on. More ghosts crawled out of the shadows, twisted figures floated from the gondolas of the Ferris wheel, low roars echoed from the roller coaster tracks. Laughter spread everywhere, as if the entire park was laughing at them. "Jianhong, you idiot! The whole park is awake now." Xu Feng pulled him, feeling pressure rising in his heart. Jianhong's passion was supposed to be a boost, but this time it almost killed them. He has to make a decision and can no longer rely on others. "Listen to me, forget about the box and go straight to the arch. Don't look back." Jianhong was stunned for a moment, then nodded, admiration flashing in his eyes. "Okay, you have the final say. Run." The two of them sprinted side by side, the wind roared in their ears, the claws of the resentful spirit grazed the corners of his clothes, and the sound of tearing cloth made Xu Feng's heart beat with fear. The carousel struggled forward, the gears grinding sparks, and the wraith's face twisted even more. "Play games, always play. The laughter is like a razor blade scraping the bones." Another premonition flashed in Xu Feng's mind, the Trojan horse was about to collapse. In the picture, the gears were broken and debris rained down, hitting them. "Jianhong, the Trojan is about to explode. Look over there, there is a hidden entrance for the slide on the platform." He pointed to a half-covered iron cover next to the arch, his voice firm. The panic was still there, but memories came to mind. When he was a child, Jingyi got lost in the amusement park. When he found her, she cried and said, "Brother Feng, you promised to always protect me." That promise was like a torch, lighting up his tenacity. He went from a hesitant guy to a man who could take the lead. "Jump! Trust me." Jianhong didn't hesitate and kicked open the iron cover. "You kid, you always have some clever ideas. Come on." He jumped first. The slide was steep, and the two of them screamed as they slid down. The wind roared in the darkness, as if they were falling into a bottomless pit. Behind the wooden horse, the roar of collapse sounded, the debris hit the arch, and sparks flew everywhere. The laughter of the wraith was drowned in the explosion, but more shadows came from all directions, and the sound of chasing footsteps was like a tide. At the end of the slide was a damp storage room, and they rolled to the ground, dust hitting their faces and coughing. Xu Feng got up and checked Jianhong immediately. "Are you okay?" His voice was much calmer and no longer trembling. Jianhong rubbed his butt and grinned, "Damn, I almost pissed myself. But that premonition you just had was awesome. Man, you are the boss, I listened to you." His passionate encouragement was like a warm current, turning Xu Feng's pressure into motivation. "Without you, I would have been caught long ago. Jingyi has a brother like you, it's worth it." Xu Feng nodded, feeling more tenacious in his heart. He scanned the room, which was the edge of the park's core area, The walls were covered with old posters, and the floor was littered with documents and props. The smell of gunpowder still lingers in the air, with a faint smell of burning. "Look here." He picked up a fallen badge. The silver edge was engraved with masterly, "Happy Paradise will last forever." There was a scratch on the back of the badge, as if it had been scratched by a claw, and a newspaper clipping next to it was yellowed. On the night of the fire, the owner of the park was suspected of hiding banned chemicals and was suspected of deliberately setting the fire to cover up debts. There is handwriting on the edge of the clipping. "Daughter, my fault, Jingyi saw it." Jingyi? Xu Feng's heart shrank. This clue points directly to her. She had been here. What had she witnessed? The fire was not an accident, but was directed by the owner of the park. The curse of the resentful spirit starts from here. "Jianhong, this badge belongs to the garden owner. Jingyi must know the truth. She disappeared, to escape these ghosts." Jianhong came closer and said with a frown, "Damn it, you bastard of a garden owner. He set fires, killed people, and killed countless tourists. Those resentful spirits are the victims, right? We have to go to the roller coaster. The map says the core office is under the track. Jingyi's things must be hidden." He stood up, dusted off the dust, and his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. "Let's go, Brother Feng. This time, I won't mess around. You lead the way." Xu Feng held the badge tightly, and a premonition flashed through his mind: the front is more dangerous, and the roller coaster will fall. But he didn't flinch, and his inner growth made him look directly at the darkness. "Okay. But remember, we are not here to play, we are here to end this curse." Behind the door of the storage room, there was a faint roar of the track, and the core area of the park was like a huge mouth, waiting to swallow them. The door of the storage room made a low creaking sound under Xu Feng's hands, like an old bone protesting. He pushed open a gap, and the roar of the track rushed towards him like the breathing of a giant beast, mixed with the harsh noise of metal friction. The smell of engine oil and coke filled the air, making him frown. "Jianhong, are you ready?" "There is something wrong with this voice," Xu Feng whispered, holding the badge tightly. His palms were slightly sweaty. Jianhong nodded, his eyes shining with excitement, and his backpack swayed against the door frame. "Of course. Brother Feng, you lead the way, and I'll follow. I promise not to mess around this time." He patted his chest, his passionate tones seemed to be comforting himself, but Xu Feng could hear the nervousness inside. The two slipped out of the storage room, stepping lightly on the gravel path. The surrounding night was too thick to melt away, and the moonlight shone on the twisted orbit, lengthening the shadows, like countless hands calling. The support of the roller coaster stands in the center of the park, towering into the clouds. The track curves into an S shape, like a coiled snake. The light bulb in the distance flickered intermittently, emitting a faint blue light, illuminating the rusty wreckage of the carriage. There was a faint sweet rotten smell in the air, like expired popcorn mixed with blood. They walked around several overturned stalls, crushing fallen ribbons and plastic toys under their feet, the crunching sound loud in the silence. Fragments of premonitions occasionally flashed through Xu Feng's mind, vague orbits shaking, screams echoing. But he took a deep breath and suppressed his uneasiness. "You can't always be afraid, you have to take it step by step." He turned to Jianhong and said, "Remember, don't get close to the track. The map says the office is underneath, so let's go around from the side." Jianhong hummed, but with his eyes fixed on the towering track, he couldn't help but murmur, "This thing was so exciting back then, but now it looks like a ghost gate." If Jingyi had really been here, she would have been terrified. There was a nasal sound in his voice, which warmed Xu Feng's heart. "Although this guy is impulsive, he has a good heart." The two groped to the foot of the track. An iron ladder was hidden in the bushes. The ladder was covered with vines, like green veins. The roar came closer, and the track trembled slightly, as if it came to life. "Quickly, get up the ladder. The office is down there." Xu Feng climbed up first. The iron ladder was so cold that it hurt his palms. Jianhong followed behind, breathing heavily. At the end of the ladder is a platform, and below is the bottom passage of the track, a black hole like an open mouth. Just when they were about to jump down, there was a loud boom, and the track suddenly started. The entire structure shook, and the wreckage of the carriage slid down from a high place, making a sharp scraping sound of metal, like fingernails scratching on a blackboard. The wind howled and blew into his face with dust. Xu Feng's eyes were mesmerized and he kept coughing. What the hell? It moved on its own. Jianhong shouted, holding on to the ladder, his face turned pale. The carriages on the track accelerated and slid, creaking and whining at the corners, as if they were about to derail at any time. The railing at the edge of the platform automatically popped open, and a stream of cold air surged up from below, carrying the whisper of a resentful spirit, fly, fall, eternal excitement. The sound was like a tide, layered one after another, making people's scalp numb. Xu Feng's premonition hit him like an electric shock. In the picture, the track broke, debris fell like rain, Jianhong was sucked in, and fell into the abyss. His heart tightened. This was no coincidence, the facility was setting a trap to prey on intruders. Jianhong, don't move. This is a trap, it's going to break. Xu Feng shouted, his voice half swallowed by the wind. But Jianhong's passion got the best of him. He saw an iron door on the other side of the platform with employee passage engraved on it, and thought it was the exit. Brother Feng, I see the door. Just crawl over. He didn't listen, let go, and jumped onto the edge of the track, walking hurriedly along the narrow walkway. The vibrations on the track intensified, the carriages roared overhead, and the wind pressure caused him to stagger. Hurry up, this door must lead to the office. Xu Feng's heart was pounding, and there was a surge of anger and self-blame in his heart. Jianhong's impulse comes again, and this time it may be fatal. He could no longer let this blind action ruin everything. He had always been hesitant before, but now he had to be decisive. Jianhong, stop. The track is going to collapse, he shouted, and his premonition became clearer. The screws in the middle of the track were loose and would break within a second. Xu Feng gritted his teeth, jumped up, grabbed Jianhong's backpack strap, and pulled it back with force. Listen to me. Don't be brave. Jianhong stumbled, turned around and glared. What are you doing? It was just a close call. Before he could finish his words, crack, the track broke. Debris flew like sharp knives, the middle section collapsed, and the wreckage of the carriage fell, hitting the passage below, sending sparks flying everywhere. The laughter of the resentful spirit burst out from the crack, and its pale arms stretched out to grab Jianhong's ankle. Jianhong screamed, his feet sliding to the edge, and there was only endless darkness in his sight. Brother Feng! Save me! Xu Feng held him tightly, his arm muscles tightened as if they were about to break. Sweat mixed with dust slipped into my eyes, stinging terribly. His foresight saved his life, but at this moment, he realized, courage is not about rushing randomly, it must be balanced and cautious. You can't always rely on intuition, you have to teach Jianhong how to be obedient. Hold on. Use your rope, he gasped. Jianhong reacted, swung the rope out of his backpack, tied one end to the platform pillar, and wrapped the other end around his waist. Pull! Pull quickly! Xu Feng pulled hard, and the two of them rolled back to the platform. The resentful spirit's fingers brushed against Jianhong's soles, making a hissing sound. They collapsed on the ground, panting like cattle. The roar of the tracks faded, but the lingering heat in the air made your skin burn. Jianhong wiped his sweat and his voice trembled. Damn, it was almost over. You saved me again. This premonition is amazing. The way he looked at Xu Feng changed, it was no longer a buddy-like teasing, but full of admiration. I'm sorry, Brother Feng. I was too impulsive. Next time, I will listen to you and not mess around. Xu Feng nodded, and the pressure in his heart turned into a sense of accomplishment. He has grown from a passive investigator to a leader who can take control of the situation. An inner monologue flashed through. We can no longer let fear dominate, we must use this ability to protect everyone. It's okay, but remember, courage is not recklessness. We have to be cautious together. Jingyi is still waiting for us. He stood up and patted Jianhong on the shoulder, and the tacit understanding between the two deepened. At this moment, footsteps came from the shadows of the platform, as light as ghosts. A figure walked out of the darkness, holding a flashlight in his hand, and the beam swept across their faces. "Are you here to find the missing person? Don't move. I'm not an enemy." The voice was clear and trembling, and it was from a girl. Under the moonlight, she looked to be in her early 20s, with messy long hair and clothes covered in dust and mud. Her eyes are deep, as if they hide countless secrets. "Who are you?" Jianhong stood up alertly and reached for the knife. Xu Feng also tensed up his nerves, not expecting an attack, but his intuition told him that this person had a lot of background. "Don't come here. Make it clear." The girl raised her hand and approached slowly. "My name is Jing Xian. I used to. I was also an intruder. 2 years ago, I escaped. You made so much noise just now that you almost woke up the entire park." She glanced at the broken track and turned pale. "The facilities in this place are not broken, they are cursed. The owner of the garden set the fire back then, and it was not an accident. I saw it with my own eyes." Xu Feng's heart sank, and the badge felt hot in his pocket. "What did you see?" "Jingyi, she is missing, did you know?" His voice was urgent, and doubts arose in his heart. This girl suddenly appeared, what a coincidence. Ally? Or a trap? Can the resentful spirit disguise itself? Jing Xian hesitated, bit her lip and said, "On the night of the fire, I was a part-time employee of the park. The owner of the park, Uncle Li, owed a lot of debt. He had banned chemicals, wanted to burn the evidence, and ran away with the insurance money. But the fire got out of control, and he drove away the tourists in order to protect himself. Enter the carousel and roller coaster, lock the exits, and let them be a living target. Those screams. I will never forget them. The ghosts are their revenge tools." She took out an old key from her pocket and shook it. "This is an employee key. It can open a hidden passage leading directly to the park owner's office. But you have to be careful, there are more traps in the passage." Jianhong's eyes widened. "Why are you helping us? Didn't you say that this place eats people without spitting out their bones?" His passion made his tone thorny, but Xu Feng held him back, and the conflict in his mind intensified. Jing Xuan's clues were so crucial, but her appearance was like pie in the sky. What if she is the remnant of the garden owner? Inner monologue, he can't blindly believe, but Jingyi's shadow flashes in his mind, and he has to take risks. Jing Xian sighed, sadness flashing in her eyes. "Because I owe Jingyi my life. Before she disappeared, she came to me to collect evidence. She said she wanted to reveal the truth, but she was captured by the resentful spirit, the daughter of the owner of the park. That kid. She hated everyone and thought the fire was because the tourists robbed her of her joy. Jingyi is now trapped in the resentful spirit area, at the core altar. If you don't go, she will never come out." Her words were like a bomb, and Xu Feng's fear came like a tide. The fear of isolation made him want to retreat, but looking at Jianhong's firm eyes and Jing Xuan's key, he felt a change. Trust is not born, it is built in crisis. "Okay, we believe you. But you have to come with us," Xu Feng said, his voice much calmer. The doubts in his heart are still there, but his growth has taught him a balance. Don't believe everything, but give him a chance. Jing Xian nodded and handed over the key. "Deal. But remember, evil spirits can read minds, so don't show any cowardice." The three of them turned to the iron door on the side of the platform. Jing Xian inserted the key, and with a click, the door opened. The passage was dark, and the wind blew from the depths, carrying a low murmur, like the whispers of countless souls. Xu Feng walked in the front, followed by Jianhong and Jing Xian. The lingering sound of the track faded away behind you, but ahead, the aura of the resentful spirit area became stronger and stronger, and the suspense was like a web, entangled layer by layer. Their footsteps echoed down the passage, leading deeper into darkness. The air in the passage was like solidified glue, so sticky that it made people breathless. Xu Feng walked in the front. The beam of the flashlight swayed on the narrow wall, illuminating the mottled graffiti and scratches. Those marks were like skin scratched by fingernails, faintly showing a dark red color. The wind blew from the depths, mixed with low murmurs, like countless people whispering in their ears, expressing inaudible resentments. The stone slabs underfoot were cold and slippery, and every step echoed, as if something was following. "This place is like a living maze," Xu Feng whispered, his hand holding the key shaking slightly. He glanced behind him. Jianhong and Jingxian followed closely. Jianhong's backpack rubbed against the wall, making a small noise. Jingxian came closer and lowered her voice. "The Wraith area is not a straight road. This is an extension of the old haunted house. The owner of the park added a maze design in order to attract tourists. But now, those walls will remember the past." Her eyes flickered under the flashlight light, a little weary, as if she was recalling some nightmare. Jianhong snorted and tried to lighten the atmosphere. Maze? We played in it when we were kids, and Brother Feng was always the one who got lost. Don't be afraid, I have a map this time." He shook his phone, but the screen suddenly flickered, the signal was cut off, and the map became a mess. "Damn, what's going on? The signal is blocked in this damn place?" Xu Feng didn't look back, and the premonition in his heart was like a faint sting. He felt something brewing ahead, not just the sound of wind, but something colder. The passage suddenly turned and widened, like an open throat. Cracks began to appear on the walls, tiny lights seeping out, and the air was filled with the smell of burnt smoke, mixed with echoes of screams, not hallucinations, but real echoes. "Stop!" Xu Feng raised his hand and his voice calmed everyone. "Did you hear that? Those sounds were like the day of the fire." The three of them stopped, and the cracks in the wall widened, as if the skin was tearing. Suddenly, a blood-red light burst out, and a blurry image appeared in the wall, a tourist from the past, with a distorted face and a blazing fire on his clothes. They ran screaming, slamming into walls, their skin blistering and their flesh melting into the stone. The phantom of a little girl is particularly clear. She cried, "Mom, it's hot, it's so hot." Her arms stretched out of the wall and clawed at the air. Her fingernails were broken and stained with blood. The smell of smoke hit his nostrils, and the heat licked his skin like a substance, making Xu Feng's throat dry. "This is a replay of the fire," he murmured, a chill rising in his heart. "These phantoms are not decorations, but evidence of the owner's guilt. The ghosts are torturing the intruders with their memories." Jingshuan's face turned pale. She took a step back and bumped into Jianhong. I remember this scene. The fire broke out from the chemical storage room that day, and the owner locked the exit, allowing tourists to use it as a shield." Her voice was trembling, and her eyes were fixed on the little girl's phantom, as if she were looking into a mirror. Jianhong swallowed his saliva and temporarily suppressed his enthusiasm. "Damn, this is too real. Brother Feng, we have to go around. Is there an exit to this maze?" He took out a rope from his backpack and tried to tie the iron ring on the wall to fix the route, but as soon as the rope touched the wall, it made a sizzling sound, like being corroded by acid, and broke instantly. "What? My tool has failed." The phantom's murmur turned into a growl, and the walls trembled. The little girl's image suddenly came to life, her arms stretched out, and her pale palms pointed toward Jingxian. "Come and accompany me, burn." The screams were piercing, and heat waves billowed in the air. Jingxian screamed and stumbled as she stepped back. The bloody hands in the wall grabbed her ankles and pulled her into the phantom. Her nails dug into the stone, making a scraping sound, and her face was filled with fear. "No! Let me go!" There was a buzz in Xu Feng's mind, and the premonition was like a lightning strike. In the picture, Jingxian was dragged into the wall, turned into another phantom, and was trapped in the sea of fire forever. He didn't have time to hesitate, rushed forward, grabbed her arm and pulled hard. "Hold on! Don't let go!" His voice was firm, his arm muscles tensed, and sweat slid down his back. Phantom's fingers were as cold as iron pincers, and the heat and cold mixed together, making his skin feel like it was tearing. But he gritted his teeth and recalled the scene from his childhood. Jingy was playing by the fire and he pulled her away. The fear had kept him awake every night, and now, he could no longer escape. "Get away! You monster!" He yelled and kicked the wall, causing stone fragments to fly and Phantom's hand to loosen. Jianhong rushed over and tried to cut it off with a knife, but as soon as the blade touched his palm, it melted into molten iron, making him throw away his hands and scream. "Ah! What the hell is this?" The moment the tool failed, more arms surged out of the Phantom on the other side of the wall, surrounding it like a tide. Their screams mingled together, the passage shook, and rocks fell. Jianhong was hit on the shoulder by a piece of gravel. He backed away in pain, opened the side door and rolled into the darkness. "Brother Feng! Jing Xian! There is a road over here." His voice faded away, the passage forked, and the walls of the maze automatically closed, briefly separating the three of them. Xu Feng pulled Jing Xian out, and the two stood against the wall, panting. The Phantom retreated into the wall, but the murmurs continued and the heat lingered in the air. Thank you." Jing Xian rubbed her ankle, gratitude flashing in her eyes. "How do you know it's going to attack?" "Intuition." Xu Feng replied briefly, his heartbeat still not calming down. He glanced around. The passage was now a fork, and Jianhong's voice could no longer be heard. The panic of separation surged up, but he suppressed it, and an inner monologue flashed through. "Don't panic, this is a test." In the past, he always retreated from crises, but now he had to face them alone. "Jianhong will be fine, we have to go separately. Go ahead and find him." He pulled Jing Xian up, and the two walked forward in the dark. The Phantom on the wall became more personal, the shadow of his childhood appeared in front of Xu Feng's eyes, the image of a little boy. He was 5 years old. There was a fire in his home, and his mother's scream echoed. He was hiding in the corner, unable to save anyone. The boy turned his head with empty eyes. "Why don't you save me?" "Coward." His arms stretched out and grabbed his chest, the heat wave burning like real fire. Xu Feng froze, sweating like rain. Fear is like a vine clinging to his heart. This is not the Phantom of a resentful spirit, but his inner weakness, childhood trauma, which makes him always hesitate at critical moments. Jingyi's disappearance should have prompted him to act sooner, but he delayed. "No. That's not true." He murmured, with an inner conflict. "Run away? Or looking directly?" A premonition flashed through. "Face it and you can move forward." He took a deep breath, stopped, and looked directly at the boy. "I'm sorry, I was too young then. But now, I won't run away again." He stretched out his hand, not to avoid, but to touch the image. The Phantom trembled, screamed, and dissipated in smoke. The heat wave receded, the passage became brighter, and his legs were no longer weak. Growth is like a warm current, from a passive victim to a man who has the courage to look directly at himself. "Let's go, Jing Xian. We have to find Jianhong." His voice was steady and his eyes were firm. The two of them turned a few corners, and the Phantom of the wall gradually faded, but the smell of burning remained in the air. Suddenly, there was the sound of fighting in front of them. They rushed over and saw Jianhong surrounded by several ghost phantoms. They were children's ghosts with burnt faces and shrill laughter. "Get away! You brats!" Jianhong punched, but his fist passed through the air and was weak. The wound on his shoulder oozed blood, and his blood kept him going, but his eyes were tired. "Jianhong!" Xu Feng shouted, rushing forward, using the courage he had just shown to guide him. "Don't fight! They're afraid of light." He swung out his flashlight, and the bright light swept across it, causing the Phantom to scream and disperse. Jing Xian picked up the iron rod on the ground and smashed it against the wall. The cracks widened and all the phantoms dispersed. The three of them reunited and looked at each other while breathing. Jianhong grinned and patted Xu Feng on the shoulder. "Brother, you came in time. I thought it was over just now." His voice was less impulsive and more modest. Jing Xian supported the wall, took a deep breath, and decided to share. "You don't know, the fire was not a simple arson. the owner of the park, Uncle Lee, he was crazy with greed. When the park was losing money, he secretly conducted chemical experiments to invent a never-extinguishing light show, mixing banned phosphorus compounds. But the experiment went out of control and the fire broke out in the storage room. For insurance money, he deliberately locked the door and let tourists die in the facility, pretending to be an accident. Her eyes were moist and her voice was low. I survived because I hid in the employee passage. But I saw him push his daughter away and escape. The little girl was burned to death on the merry-go-round, and the evil spirit has dominated everything since then. Xu Feng's heart sank. The truth of greed was like a knife twisting. From a passive escape, he turned to an active one. It's not an accident, it's the bane of the experiment. We have to dig out the motive and end this curse. Jingyi, what did she witness? His tone no longer hesitated, and his eyes were ignited with the fire of pursuit. Jianhong nodded, his blood rushing back. Yes. Let's work together as a team. Brother Feng, what do you think we should do? Jing Xian smiled and held the iron rod tightly. I will lead the way. There is the owner's old room at the end of this maze, and there may be evidence. During the interaction, the bond deepened. Jianhong handed Xu Feng the rope fragment. I will listen to you this time. Xu Feng patted him on the back. Let's face it together. Jing Xuan's sharing turned fear into motivation, and the three of them moved forward side by side. At the end of the passage, an iron door was ajar, and inside was a small room littered with documents and burnt diary fragments. Xu Feng picked up a page and scrawled, "The experiment is successful, the light will last forever. But the creditors are approaching, I can't lose. Daughter, Dad, I'm sorry." The tourists saw the chemical barrel. Jingyi's girl broke in, and she peeked at the diary. It needs to be sealed. The fire starts tonight. The edges of the fragments were charred, confirming that Jingyi had witnessed everything and was trapped as a hostage. Jingyi. Xu Feng clenched the paper, his heart aching. But the evidence raises hope. She was caught because she knew too much. We have to go to the core altar and save her. The suspense network tightened, and outside the room, the murmurs started again, getting closer. The resentful spirits knew that they were digging for the truth, and the walls began to tremble, and the phantom heat wave was approaching faintly. The three of them exchanged glances, pushed open the back door, and stepped deeper into the labyrinth. The footsteps echoed in the darkness, and the road leading to the altar was filled with unknown shadows. The darkness behind the iron gate was like a thick mass of ink. Xu Feng's flashlight light barely penetrated the fog in front of him. The scratches on the wall were getting deeper and deeper, like a distress signal left by his fingers in the struggle. The murmurs came like a tide, low and rapid, like countless souls breathing. Where does this road lead? Xu Feng asked in a low voice, his footsteps making a sticky echo on the slippery stone slabs. His heartbeat had not yet calmed down from the shock of the diary fragments, and Jingyi's shadow was like a thorn, making him breathless. Jing Xian walked in the middle, holding the iron rod until her knuckles turned white. The altar is at the highest point of the park, under the Ferris wheel. It was the wheel of heaven built by the owner of the park, and it is now the nest of the resentful spirits. After the fire, it never stopped and always started spinning in the middle of the night. Her voice was nasal, and the residual burnt smell in the air made her frown. But we have to get through this maze first, before the phantom separates us again. Behind Jianhong Dian, the wound on his shoulder hurt slightly, but he still managed to smile. Hey, Brother Feng, you looked so handsome when you faced that brat just now. You have been timid since you were a child, and now you seem to be a different person. He patted Xu Feng on the back and tried to dispel the gloom with a passionate tone, but the friction of the backpack echoed in the passage, as if to remind them that the darkness would strike back at any time. Jing Xian, what is the altar you were talking about? Is Jingyi really there? She is trapped in the old control room at the top of the wheel, and the resentful spirit feeds itself with her memories. Jing Xian answered briefly and turned a corner. The passage suddenly opened up, and a light suddenly dawned in front of them. They came to a semi-open-air atrium, with a broken glass dome above their heads, and the moonlight shone down, illuminating the Ferris wheel standing in the center. The wheels are huge and twisted, and the pod is hung on the iron arms like a broken necklace. It makes a low groan when the wind blows. The air was filled with the sour smell of rusty metal, mixed with the smell of burnt paint in the distance, making people's throats feel tight. Look, this is the entrance. The altar is on the hidden level at the bottom of the wheel. We have to climb up. A premonition flashed through Xu Feng's mind, blurry images, wheels turning, and screams falling from high altitudes. He shook his head, suppressing his uneasiness. Be careful, this thing looks unstable. Jianhong, what's left on your map? He turned around and asked, trying to keep the team in rhythm. In the past, he always relied on Jianhong's momentum to push forward, but now, he feels that he has to stand up, otherwise this passion will become a powder keg. Jianhong approached the base of the Ferris wheel and touched the rusty iron ladder. The map says that if you climb up this ladder to the middle cabin, you can go around to the control panel. I think I heard Jingyi's cry for help. He frowned and put his ear close to the metal. Suddenly, the base of the wheel buzzed and the lights flickered. The entire structure vibrated, the iron arms slowly rotated, and the door of the pod opened automatically, like a huge mouth. What? It moved on its own. Jianhong shouted, excited and panicked. Get back! Xu Feng shouted, but it was too late. The floor beneath the pedestal cracked, and a dark wind swept the three of them straight into the nearest pod. The door slammed shut, and the cabin was pitch black, with only the flashlight shining across the dusty seats and broken window glass. The Ferris wheel accelerated upwards, its iron arms creaked and whined, the wind poured in through the gaps, howling like a ghost crying. Damn it, we're trapped. Jing Xian was holding onto the wall, her face pale. This is a trap, the evil spirit has awakened in the cabin. The cabin swayed and climbed upwards, and the view was raised. The ruins of the park spread out underfoot, twisted tracks, broken light bulbs, like a doomsday picture. Xu Feng's heart was beating fast, and a premonition ran through him like an electric current. The shadows in the cabin were moving. He glanced around, seeing pale arms appearing under the seats, and ghosts crawling out from the floor. They were charred tourists, with their skin cracked to reveal charred bones, and their eyes as hollow as black holes. Let's play, keep spinning forever. Their murmurs turned into low roars, and they crawled towards the three of them. Heat waves billowed in the air, like fire licking them. Get away! You monsters! Jianhong shouted, his blood boiling, and he rushed to the control panel on the bulkhead, where there were several rusty buttons and levers. I'll smash it. Then the wheels will stop. He took out a knife and pliers from his backpack and smashed the panel, causing sparks to fly. The cabin shook violently, the iron arms made a snapping sound, the entire pod tilted, the vision was spinning, and outside the window was an abyss. Ha, look at me! Jianhong shouted excitedly, but the wires on the panel exploded, and the current rushed out, burning his hands and shrinking. Xu Feng's premonitions came like a tide. In the picture, the cabin derailed and fell like a meteorite, and Jianhong's scream echoed. He had no time to hesitate and changed from the passivity of relying on his friends to independent decision-making. Jianhong, stop! This will make it collapse! He shouted, grabbed Jianhong's arm and pulled away forcefully. The iron pliers fell and hit the wraith's arm, making a sizzling sound, but the shaking of the cabin intensified, the floor tilted, and Jing Xian slid to the edge. Brother Feng, it's going to fall. Jianhong's face turned pale, his blood suddenly cooled down, and he grabbed the seat tightly. I just want to end it quickly. Listen to me. Don't move. Xu Feng's voice was as firm as iron. He glanced around the cabin, his mind spinning rapidly. The growing pains are like needle pricks. In the past, he always let Jianhong take the lead, but now he has to carry it himself. Jing Xian, is there a rope at the bottom of the bilge? Jianhong, stabilize your body and use your backpack to pad the door. He commanded, and an inner monologue flashed through. We can no longer rely on impulse, we must use our brains to lead. The resentful spirit took advantage of the chaos and pounced on him, and a burned woman's soul clawed at his neck, her nails as cold as knives. Xu Feng dodged sideways, kicked the seat open, and hit the resentful spirit, causing it to retreat into the shadows. "We are not here to die, we are here to end this. Jianhong, don't be brave and help me hold Jingxian back." Jianhong was stunned for a moment, then nodded, guilt flashing in his eyes. "Okay, Brother Feng, you have the final say." He crawled over, grabbed Jingshuan's arm, and the two of them worked together to stabilize their bodies. The shaking of the cabin gradually slowed down, but the roar of the wraith came closer. The heat wave caused the sweat to evaporate and the skin became hot. Xu Feng's prediction flashed again: there is a hidden lever in the side cabin. He groped around in the wall and found a loose panel containing old rope. "Hold on. This can fix the cabin." He threw out the rope, tied one end to the seat, and wrapped the other end around the three people's waists. The resentful spirit pounced on them, claws scratching the rope, and broken fibers rained down, but they held firm. How do you always know?" Jingxian asked breathlessly, her eyes full of surprise. She picked up an iron box from the bilge with an old key inside. "Wait a minute, this is the employee break. It was hidden by the garden owner in case it goes out of control." She climbed towards the hidden slot on the roof of the cabin, and the murmur of the resentful spirit surrounded her. "Don't touch it, always turn." Jingxian gritted her teeth, inserted the key, and pulled the lever. Crack! There was a loud noise, the rotation speed of the wheel dropped sharply, the iron arm whined, and the pod slowly stopped at the top, shaking and hanging in the air. The resentful spirit screamed and dispersed, turning into black smoke and getting into the cabin cracks. The three of them collapsed on the ground, breathing like bellows. The wind howled at the top of the Ferris wheel, and the park had a panoramic view. The lights of the ghost house flickered, and the remains of the carousel glowed faintly, as if mocking their struggles. "We survived." Jianhong rubbed his hands and said in a low voice, "Brother Feng, I'm sorry. I was reckless again. If it weren't for you, I would have pulled everyone down." His enthusiasm became gentle, and he patted Xu Feng on the shoulder, as if to acknowledge his leadership. Xu Feng nodded, feeling a sense of independence surge in his heart like a warm current. From relying on Jianhong's shadow to taking control of the situation himself, this growth makes fear controllable. "It's okay, we are a team. But next time, follow the instructions." "Jingxian, thank you. The break saves lives." He helped her up, and the three of them pushed open the hatch and climbed to the top maintenance platform. The wind was getting stronger, mixed with the chill from high altitude, and the iron frame was bitingly cold. In the center of the platform, there was a locked iron cabinet. Jingxian opened it with the key just now. Yellowing files and audio tapes were scattered inside. Xu Feng picked up a stack of documents, and his fingers felt as rough as sandpaper. The front page reads "Confidential, Wheels of Heaven Project." Below it is the signature of the park owner, Uncle Lee, and the seals of several government officials. "This is..." He murmured and opened the contents. The files revealed everything. The owner of the park was not just greedy. He colluded with corrupt local government officials to secretly test military chemical weapons in the park, disguised as a light show experiment. Phosphorus compounds are originally poisonous gas raw materials. The fire was a test fire on the night of the fire. In order to cover it up, the owner of the park set fire to the park and sacrificed tourists as a shield. The government acquiesced in exchange for the development rights of the amusement park, then sealed the deal afterwards, allowing the resentment to live on forever. "They use innocent people as guinea pigs?" Xu Feng's voice trembled, and the truth hit his heart like a heavy hammer. The shock made his legs weak, and the shackles of fear tightened. This was not just a curse, but a man-made sin. He thinks of Jingyi's messages, which she peeked into and became a threat. Jingxian sighed, her eyes moist. "After I survived, I wanted to call the police, but they threatened me. Jingyi came to me just for this file. She said she wanted to expose it and let the resentful spirits rest in peace." Jianhong clenched his fists, his blood rekindled. "You bastard. Is the government involved? We have to take this out and end everything." His words brought Xu Feng back to his senses, and his courage surged like fire, breaking through his fear. He straightened up with firm eyes. Yes. But save Jingyi first. This is our battle. Internal monologue, no matter how ugly the truth is, it cannot defeat me. For her, I have to be brave. At this moment, a faint cry for help came from the high-altitude wind. Feng, brother Feng. Help me, it's so dark here. That was Jingyi's voice. Crisp and desperate, it floats from the direction of the altar at the bottom of the wheel, like a thread pulling at the heart. Xu Feng's heart sank, and the suspense tightened. She was still alive, but her voice was intermittent, mixed with the laughter of a resentful spirit. Jingyi, he shouted, his voice half swallowed by the wind. The bond of the team became even tighter. Jianhong pulled him. Brother Feng, let's go down. Jing Xian nodded. There is a hidden ladder at the altar, go around here. The three of them exchanged glances, suspense escalated, and emotions surged in like a tide. They climbed off the platform, shouting for help in the wind, and more shadows hid on the road leading to the bottom of the wheel. The wind roared down from the top of the Ferris wheel, lashing Xu Feng's cheek like an invisible whip. He grasped the edge of the iron ladder tightly, his palms hurting. The moonlight stretched the shadows of the three of them and cast them on the twisted iron frame. Jingyi's cry for help still echoed in her ears, intermittently, like pieces of paper torn by the wind. Feng, brother, hot, so hot. Xu Feng's heart tightened and his throat became dry. She's down there, we have to hurry. He whispered, taking the lead and climbing down the last section of the ladder, making a crunching sound when his feet stepped on the gravel of the base. The darkness of the park surged in like a living thing, the surrounding facilities glowed faintly, and the air was filled with the smell of engine oil and coke, making the nose itchy. Jing Xian followed behind, and the iron rod struck the iron frame, making a crisp echo. The altar is at the bottom of the wheel, but there are traps on the main road. Let's take the side path to avoid the remnants of the merry-go-round. Her voice was steady, as if she was sharing the secrets of shortcuts in old Beijing alleys, with a bit of the sophistication of a survivor. Behind the Jianhong Palace, the wound on his shoulder was aching, but he still grinned. Listen to Sister Jing Xian. Brother Feng, has your premonition come again? This damn place, it feels like eyes are staring at us. He patted his backpack, and the tools inside jingled, as if to remind them that they still have backup options. The three of them walked around the base of the Ferris wheel in the dark, stepping on dead leaves and broken glass. The harsh crunching sound sent shivers down Xu Feng's spine. The dark play area unfolds before our eyes. This area used to be a bumper car park and a small game area, but now it has turned into a black shadow, and the iron bars of the bumper cars are rusted and tilted, like broken teeth. In the distance, there was a faint sizzling sound of electric arcs, and the smell of ionized ozone in the air assaulted your nostrils. This is the electric shock area. The fire burned out the wires, and the evil spirits used them as weapons. Jing Xian lowered her voice and led them into a narrow alley, avoiding the afterimage of lights in the main square. Follow me closely and don't touch the iron pieces on the ground. Those are conductive. Xu Feng nodded. The fear in his heart was still there, but from the crisis of the Ferris wheel, he learned to suppress it. Fragments of premonitions occasionally flashed through my mind, blurry car lights flashed, lightning flashed like snakes. But he didn't panic, took a deep breath, turned to Jianhong and said, Jianhong, do you have insulating gloves in your backpack? In case of electric shock, don't be brave. When he said these words, he was stunned. In the past, he always waited for Jianhong to come up with ideas, but now he was actively planning. The feeling of growth is like a warm current, which dilutes the weakness in my legs when I first entered the park. At the end of the alley is the edge of the bumper car park. The iron mesh fence is half collapsed. The bumper cars inside are scattered on the ground. The tires are flat and the body is covered with dust and claw marks. The air is sticky and mixed with the smell of burnt rubber, which reminds me of barbecue stalls on the streets on summer nights, but twisted into a nightmare. Look, there's a secret passage over there that leads directly to the garden owner's residence. Jing Xian pointed to the back of an overturned bumper car and swept the flashlight over it, revealing a half-covered manhole cover. We opened it up and went around underground. Jianhong stepped forward and said with enthusiasm, "I'll do it. This cover is heavy, buddy, help me." He squatted down and pried open the edge of the manhole cover, but his fingers slipped and hit the wire next to it. In an instant, Zila! An arc of electricity exploded, and blue and white lightning struck his arm like a whip. Jianhong screamed, bounced back and sat down, smoke rising from his arms, and his skin was burnt black. "Ah! Damn, why is the electricity so strong?" His voice was filled with pain and his face turned pale. The echo of the electric shock was like an alarm, and the car park instantly woke up. The entire area was brightly lit, with dazzling neon lights flashing, accompanied by the piercing sound of the horn. Ding, 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 the game begins. Collide, forever fun. The ground shook, scattered bumper cars roared to life, and the tires rubbed against the ground, making sharp squeaks. Wraith vehicles came from all directions, pale faces appeared on the vehicles, eyes flashed red, and the steering wheels turned automatically, like furious beasts. A red bumper car in the lead rushed towards them. The front of the car hit the iron fence and scattered debris. "Come and hit us, burn us to death, now it's your turn." The roar of the vengeful spirit was mixed in the speakers, arcs of electricity shot out from the wheels, and the smell of electricity in the air was so strong that it was choking. "Jianhong! Are you okay?" Xu Feng rushed over to help him, his heart sank. Premonitions ran through my mind like a continuous current. In the first wave, a red car hit from the left. In the second wave, 3 blue cars surrounded the rear. In the third wave, the power grid rose to block the road. He turned from his initial panic to calmness, and his mind quickly analyzed this was not a random collision, but a patterned chase, as if the rules of the game were distorted back then. "Jing Xian, take Jianhong to the secret passage." "I'll block the first wave," he shouted, his voice as steady as a rock. From the leader of the Ferris wheel to the current battle, he felt like he had upgraded, from a rookie to a veteran, and his fear turned into calculation. Jing Xian nodded and pulled Jianhong up. "Hold on. This electric shock will paralyze the nerves, but it is not fatal." She shared, her tone was like an old Jianghu imparting wisdom. "Remember, the evil spirits are afraid of power outages. Breaking the telephone poles can slow them down." Jianhong gritted his teeth and stood up, his arms still. He was twitching, but his warm blood made him smile. "Brother Feng, I'm fine. This little electricity can be used as a massage. Let's go." The 3 of them rushed towards the manhole cover, but the red car was approaching. Its lights were like ghost eyes, arcs were thrown out, and they hit the ground, and rocks exploded. Xu Feng's prediction was as precise as radar. "Flash left," he shouted, pushing Jianhong away, and the 3 of them rolled sideways into the edge of the dark passage. The red car passed by and hit the manhole cover. The iron cover flew up and caused sparks. The first wave was resolved, and he didn't take a breath. The second wave of images flashed in his mind. The blue car was outflanking him from behind. "Back off. Block with the iron rod." Jing Xian listened to the advice and swung the stick at the wire. With a sizzling sound, a pole broke. The arc of the blue car weakened and the speed slowed down. Jianhong gasped, took out the insulating tape from his backpack, and wrapped his arms as he ran. "Sister Jing Xian, your mind is amazing. Brother Feng, your premonitions are like cheating. You guessed it 3 times in a row?" "It's not a guess, it's a feeling." Xu Feng replied briefly. The third wave of premonition came, the power grid rose and sealed the secret passage. He scanned his surroundings and analyzed calmly. The power grid was feeding from a field-side transformer. "Jianhong, smash that transformer." "Jing Xian, protect him," he commanded, and an inner monologue flashed through. "The team cannot be separated again, this is my responsibility." From being a scared young man to being a tactical brain now, he felt the blood boiling in his chest, and his sense of justice was ignited like fire. These resentful spirits were innocent victims, and he had to seek justice for them. Jianhong nodded, reluctantly rushed to the transformer, clamped the wire with iron pliers, and broke it with a click, causing sparks to fly. The power grid did not rise, but the climax of the mass ghosts came. More than a dozen ghost cars gathered, the faces of burned tourists appeared on the cars, their eyes were filled with hatred, the tires crushed the ground, and dust flew into the sky. Burn it! Burn it with us! The roar was deafening, and the motorcade rushed towards them like a tide. The arcs intertwined into a network, and the lightning flashed in the air, like a thunderstorm coming. Xu Feng and the others were backed by a secret passage and had no way to retreat. Unite! Don't break up! Xu Feng shouted, anticipating multiple waves of attacks made him look like a commander. When the first car hit, he rolled to dodge, hooked his feet under the car and tripped it. For the second wave of side collisions, he grabbed an iron rod and broke the wheel axle. The car rolled and the resentful spirits dispersed screaming. Jianhong repaired an abandoned escape crash car. It was an employee car on the sidelines. He used the wrench and tape in the toolbox to quickly connect the broken wires, and the engine roared. Get in the car! Brother Feng, this thing can run. Jingxian jumped into the passenger seat and shared her thoughts. When the ghosts are chasing you, don't run in a straight line, circle around and hit their weak point, the car lights. If you smash the lights, you can cut off their sight. Xu Feng jumped on the driver's seat and held the steering wheel tightly, his palms sweaty but as steady as an experienced driver. Okay, it's up to you. He stepped on the accelerator, and the escape vehicle sprang out, its tires scraping the ground and making a wild roar. The Wraith Spirit convoy caught up, the collision sound was like thunder, a green car collided sideways, and arcs were drawn onto the body of the car. Xu Feng felt electric current flowing through his arms, and the numbness was like needle pricks. But he turned calmly, anticipating the next wave. Go right. Jianhong, smash the lights. Jianhong leaned out of the window, swung his iron tongs, and smashed the light bulbs of the leading car. The red light exploded, blinding the ghost, and bumped into his companions. The cars piled up, and the sparks of the explosion lit up the night sky. During the chase, the climax broke out. In the center of the motorcade, a small bumper car trembled and broke away, and a weak figure emerged from the car, a charred and resentful little boy, with an immature face and tears in his eyes instead of hatred. Help, save me, I don't want to burn. His voice was thin, like a candle in the wind. Other resentful spirits rushed towards him, trying to pull him back to the team, but Xu Feng's premonition flashed. This is the key. He turned the steering wheel hard and the car slid sideways, blocking the attack. Stop! This kid is different, he shouted, feeling a sense of justice in his heart. The victims of the fire were innocent children who were sacrificed by the greed of the garden owner and the government. He couldn't ignore death. Brother Feng, it's dangerous. Jianhong shouted, but he listened and stopped the car. Jingxian jumped down, using the iron rod to protect herself. Come on, little one, come with us. The little resentful spirit hesitated, stretched out his little hand, and touched her arm. In an instant, the electric arc dissipated, and he turned into a wisp of white smoke and got into Jingxuan's iron rod, which glowed faintly. He told the truth. Jingxian gasped. On the day of the fire, he was the playmate of the garden owner's daughter. He accidentally broke into the storage room and saw the chemical barrel. When the garden owner locked the door, he was trapped in the car park. He begged for mercy before being burned to death, but no one listened. The resentful spirits do not all hate people, some just want to be freed. Xu Feng's heart felt like being hammered, and his sense of justice was like a flood bursting its banks. These souls should have been playing in the sun, but they were swallowed up by the darkness of adults. He gripped the steering wheel tightly, his eyes firm. We not only save Jingy, but also end this curse and let them rest in peace. The inner monologue is brief, from self-protection to fighting for the weak. This is growth. Jianhong nodded, his blood boiling back. Yes. Brother Feng, you tell me what to do, and I will follow. Jingxian smiled, and the iron rod shimmered. Little spirit's strength can help us break the trap. Let's go, the owner's residence is ahead. The escape vehicle restarted, threw away the remaining convoy, and rushed out of the bumper lot. The tires rolled over the gravel, and the wind carried the little spirit's murmur. Thank you, there is a door ahead. They came to the edge of the park, where a gloomy two-story building stood, with a broken sign reading "Private Residence of the Park Owner" hanging on the door. The light inside the building was dim, and a low cry could be heard, like Jingy's, but more sad. The smell of burning is stronger in the air, and suspense follows him like a shadow. The three of them parked the car and exchanged glances. When they got out of the car, Xu Feng's premonition flashed again. There was a big boss inside. But he did not retreat. He pushed open the iron door and stepped into the corridor at the edge of the residence. In the darkness, more secrets were waiting to be revealed. The air in the corridor was like old wine, thick and sticky, mixed with the smell of moldy paper and the faint smell of smoke, which made Xu Feng's nose sting. The moment he pushed open the iron door, the door shaft let out a long whine, like an old man coughing at night. The building was dark, and the beam of the flashlight swept across it, illuminating the peeling wallpaper on the wall. The pattern was of distorted amusement park cartoon characters, with smiling faces that looked like they were crying. The footsteps echoed on the wooden floor, and each step felt like stepping on soft tomb soil. There were faint water droplets falling from the ceiling, hitting the shoulders as cold as tears. "Jingy's voice is right here," Xu Feng murmured, his throat tight. He turned to look at Jianhong and Jing Xian. Their faces were pale, but their eyes were firm. "Should we search separately?" "No, stick together and don't break up again." Jianhong nodded, rubbing the electrocautery marks on his arms, and the enthusiasm made him smile. "Brother Feng is right. This shabby house is like a sequel to a haunted house. I still have iron pipes in my backpack. Whoever comes, whoever dies." He shook the tool, with a hint of Beijing alley ruffianism in his voice, as if he was bracing himself before a street fight. Jing Xian held the iron rod tightly, and the stick still had the faint light of the little spirit, flickering like a will-o'-the-wisp. The upstairs may be the bedroom, and the basement hides things. The owner of the garden used to like to hide secrets. From the documents, it seems that he had a dark room. She led the way forward, her steps light, but the crying sound in the air became clearer and clearer. Jingy's voice came from the wall, murmuring intermittently like a dream, "Brother Feng, come to me, it's so dark." Xu Feng's heart shrank. The voice was so real, like the way she cried when she was lost as a child. Fuzzy fragments of premonition flashed through his mind. There was a shadow inside the wall, pulling him deeper. But he didn't retreat, and his inner monologue was like a whisper, "I can't hesitate anymore. Something happened to Jingy in the past, and I always blamed myself for not taking action sooner. Now, I have to prove that I have changed. Jingy, I'm here," he shouted, his voice echoing in the corridor, and the walls seemed to vibrate in response. The crying stopped suddenly, and then a more poignant cry for help floated out from the crack in the left wall. "Help me, Brother Feng, it's coming." The beam of light swept away, and a pale face appeared on the peeling wallpaper. Jingy's face. His eyes were red and swollen, his lips were chapped, and he stretched out his hands to grab the air. "That's a phantom," Jing Xian whispered, but Xu Feng had already rushed forward, his head buzzing. Guilt came flooding back. When Jingy disappeared, he should have called the police as soon as possible, but he delayed, fearing trouble and fearing that the police would say she ran away from home. Now, the phantom was like a mirror, reflecting his cowardice. "Jingy, wait for me," he murmured, stretched out his hand to touch the wall, and his fingertips went numb. The wallpaper cracked like a living thing, and a crack widened. Inside was a hidden passage, a black hole like an open mouth. Premonition warns, danger, but also leads to the truth. He didn't listen to Jianhong's cry, "Brother Feng, don't do it alone," and slipped directly into the crack, sliding down the basement stairs, and darkness swallowed him up. The air in the basement is even hotter, like the heat in a steamer, mixed with the pungent smell of chemicals, making your eyes sore. Xu Feng's flashlight flickered, illuminating the room at the end of the stone stairs. The walls were covered with old photos and blueprints, and in the center was a workbench with burnt test tubes and yellowed notes scattered around. The cry came from deep in the room, getting closer. "Brother Feng, why didn't you come earlier? I'm so scared." He followed the sound, his heart beating like a drum. Guilt gnawed at him. When he was a child, Jingyi always said that he was reliable, but what about him? Every crisis is a step late. The inner monologue is short and painful. This self-blame is like a chain, dragging me down. But for her, I had to cut it off and become a savior. Suddenly, the shadow in the center of the room moved. A tall figure emerged, the projection of the owner of the garden, Uncle Lee. Not an entity, but a translucent wraith with a distorted face and eyes like burning coals. He was covered in a burnt suit and exuded the stench of burnt flesh. "Boy, you're in the wrong place." The projection roared, and the sound echoed in the room like sandpaper sharpening iron. "This is my domain, the holy land of experiments. Get out, or it will burn to ashes." He stretched out his hand. Green phosphorus fire appeared in his palm, heat waves hit his face, and the air twisted like water waves. Xu Feng took a step back. His premonition was like an electric shock. The projection would spit fire and aim at his heart. He dodged sideways, and the phosphorus fire brushed his shoulders. His clothes were charred, and his skin burned like needles. You are that beast." Xu Feng gasped and shouted. Premonitions flashed in his mind continuously. The second wave, the projection summoned the test tube to explode. The third wave, the wall collapsed and blocked the road. But Goldfinger showed his weakness. Too frequent premonitions made him dizzy and blurred his vision, as if his head had been hammered. He picked up the crowbar on the workbench and swung it towards the projection, but the crowbar passed through the air and was powerless. "Damn, this is a phantom attack." The projection laughed, summoning a test tube. Green fire exploded, and fragments fell like rain, hitting the floor with a sizzling sound. Xu Feng rolled to avoid it, and a piece of debris scratched his arm. Blood seeped out, and the heat and pain made him grit his teeth. Guilt amplifies in crisis. Jingyi was trapped because he failed to save people in time, and the projection was mocking his incompetence. The projection approaches, phosphorus fire licks the air, and heat waves evaporate sweat. "You think you can uncover it? It's all for fun. Debt, experiments, tourists be damned." It roared, and the third wave came. The walls shook, and stones fell, sealing the exit. Xu Feng's premonition screamed, his weakness is exposed, he can't hold on anymore. But the inner transformation is like a fire igniting. "I can't fall." I crawl out of the quagmire of self-blame. I want to save her and prove myself. He took a deep breath, ignored his dizziness, and looked directly at the projection. "Your joy is murder. Jingyi saw your scandal, you killed her." He yelled, grabbed the old fire extinguisher under the workbench. It was a prop left by the owner of the garden, pressed the valve, white mist spurted out, and the phosphorus fire sizzled when it met the water vapor and was extinguished. The projection screamed, the body twisted, and took a step back. "No way, this fire extinguisher must be broken." Xu Feng took advantage of the situation and rushed forward, smashing the iron crow at the core of the projection, a burnt badge on the chest. The badge was like a heart, flashing green light. A premonition guided him to strike accurately. Crack. The badge cracked, the projection disintegrated into black smoke, and the crying stopped. The basement shook and cracks in the wall expanded, but Xu Feng collapsed on the ground, his dizziness worsening, and the side effects of the golden finger made his vision mottled. The pain of growing up came, from a guilty prisoner to a warrior who dared to face it. He felt a little lighter at this step. Inner monologue, courage is not fearlessness, it is actions in the face of self-blame. "For Jingyi, I will atone." At this moment, footsteps were heard from the stairs. Jianhong and Jingxian rushed down, and Xu Feng squinted with the flashlight. "Brother Feng, are you okay? We heard the explosion and were scared to death." Jianhong shouted, his face covered with sweat, and the wound on his arm was still bleeding. He threw a bottle of water and a rope. "Drink something, stay calm. It's too dark in this basement, so we used an iron pipe to pry open the side door and come here." Jingxian came closer to check his wounds, and the room was illuminated by the faint light of the iron rod. "It's too risky for you to chase the phantom. Call us next time. This is the owner's laboratory, and the ghost projection is the guard." She took out the old map from her pocket. It was the fragment of the little spirit's guidance, marking the hidden cabinet in the basement. Look, this map shows that the source of the curse is in the cabinet, a phosphorus crystal relic. The owner of the park injected resentment before his death to keep the entire park out of control. Xu Feng took the map, regained his breath, and nodded, "Thank you." The projection said something. The experiment was military poison gas, and the government colluded. When he locked the door, Jingyi peeked at the diary and was treated as a threat. His voice became steady, and there was a hint of redemption in his eyes. Jianhong frowned, his blood boiling. "You bastard. Let's smash that crystal and put an end to this damn thing." He used an iron pipe to pry open the cabinet. Inside was a glass box with a green crystal embedded in it, pulsing like a heartbeat and emitting phosphorescence. There's a faint heat wave in the air, and the walls whisper again, "Don't touch, my joy." Jingxian hesitated, bit her lip and said, "Wait, I have to tell the truth. I am not just a survivor. I was the niece of the owner of the garden back then. Jingyi came to me because I secretly hid this map. She said she would expose everything, but I was afraid that I would delay and cause her to be caught." Her eyes were moist and her voice was trembling, like a little girl admitting her mistake at the entrance of an alley. "I owe her my life, and I owe you all. The crystal is the source, but breaking it will detonate the entire basement. We have to use the power of the little spirit to neutralize it." She raised the iron rod, and the faint light rushed towards the crystal. The green light trembled and the whisper weakened. Xu Feng looked at her, and his inner conflict resolved. Trust is not blind faith, it is a choice in crisis. It's enough if you speak out bravely. Let's end it together. He stood up and held the iron crow tightly. Jianhong handed over the insulating gloves. "Brother Feng, put them on to prevent phosphorus fire." The three of them surrounded the box. Jingxian whispered to guide the little spirit, and the shimmering light was like a net wrapping the crystal. Xu Feng hit it with one blow, crack. The glass shattered and green light exploded, but it was absorbed by the dim light and turned into white smoke and dissipated. The basement shook, cracks in the walls expanded, and the hallucinated cries turned into sighs, like the soul letting go. But the suspense doesn't stop. In the smoke, a stronger projection emerges, the resentful spirit of the garden owner's daughter. The little girl's figure was twisted, her eyes were like blood, and she cried, "Dad, why did you abandon me? You should be burned too." She summoned phosphorus fire, a heat wave rolled in, and the temperature in the basement rose sharply. Xu Feng's premonition flashed, she is targeting Jingxian. He pushed Jingxian away, and the phosphorus fire rubbed his body, burning like fire. "Run! This is the core boss!" Jianhong shouted, pulling ropes to tie up the stones at the exit, and iron pipes to block the fire. Jingxian shared, she hates betrayal and attacks with emotions. "Brother Feng, your guilt will feed her." Xu Feng gritted his teeth and looked directly at the girl. "I'm sorry, your dad's fault is not yours. But we are here to end the pain and let you rest in peace." Inner transformation, courage is like a shield, from self-blame to redemption. He felt a surge of strength. The girl's resentful spirit screamed, and the phosphorus fire weakened a little, but the basement began to collapse, and rocks fell like rain. The three of them rushed to the side door, smashed the way behind Jianhong Hall, and Jingshuan's iron rod glowed for protection. Xu Feng took the lead, predicting and guiding to dodge the falling rocks, and was determined, this is not the end, but the road to Jingyi. There was a louder roar upstairs, and the low roar of the park facilities sounded, like the entire curse was counterattacking. They climbed up the stairs and rushed out of the basement. The old house shook. In the darkness, there was a faint light flickering in the direction of the altar, and the cry for help became clearer. The door frame of the old house cracked behind him, stones fell like rain, making a muffled sound, and dust rushed towards his face, like a sudden sandstorm. Xu Feng coughed and rushed out of the corridor, followed closely by Jianhong and Jingxian. The three of them panted like bellows, and their footsteps clicked on the broken tiles. The night wind was mixed with the smell of burning, blowing from the depths of the park, and there was a faint roar of metal friction, like a beast waking up. In the direction of the altar, the light flashed more rapidly, and Jingyi's calls for help floated intermittently. "Brother Feng, hurry up, it's moving." Xu Feng's heart tightened. He wiped the ashes on his face, turned around and said, "Don't stop. The altar is on the side of the pirate ship, let's go around." "Jing Xian, is your iron rod still on? Xiaoling's strength can help." Jing Xian nodded, and the faint light of the iron rod swayed like a will-o'-the-wisp, illuminating her pale face. "Yes, but the projection of the owner's daughter shook the entire park." The pirate ship was her favorite facility. During the fire, she was trapped there and burned to death. The resentful spirits will use it as their last line of defense. Her voice was low, like telling a ghost story in an alley, with a bit of the bluffing energy of an old woman in Beijing. Jianhong rubbed his shoulders, his blood rushing to his head, and laughed breathlessly. "Ha, defense line? Dude, I have explosives. The flash bombs and wires in the backpack can blow up the road. Brother Feng, what do you think of your premonition?" Xu Feng took a deep breath, and premonitions came to his mind like a tide, blurry images, pirate ships shaking, and waves of blood rolling. But he didn't panic, and kept a brief inner monologue. "In the past, I only thought about escaping from my own life, but now, I have to protect them. For Jingyi, and for these innocent souls. There is a wave ahead, but we can break through it. Jianhong, keep your tools and don't waste them. Let's go." The three of them walked side by side, stepping on the ruined path. The moonlight shone on the rusty fence, lengthening the shadows. The air in the park became salty and humid, like the fog at the seaside, with a sweet and greasy smell mixed with rust and blood that made the tip of the tongue taste astringent. The pirate ship area is hidden on the east side of the park. A huge wooden ship model stands on the concrete ocean. The ship's hull is tilted, the mast is broken like a broken bone, and the rope hangs down like a hanging rope. The light bulb in the cabin shattered, faintly revealing a blood-red light, and the air was filled with the rotten smell of seawater, mixed with the smell of old fish, making people's stomachs churn. This thing was so exciting back then. It was rocking and rocking, like taking a boat out to sea. Jianhong whispered, approaching the side of the boat, his eyes shining with memories. But Xu Feng's premonition screamed, "The ship is about to move." He grabbed Jianhong and said, "Back off. It's awake." As soon as he finished speaking, there was a loud noise. Boom, the base of the pirate ship shook, the chain automatically tightened, and the ship slowly swayed. It is not a joyful ride, but a bloody massacre mode. The cabin door slams open, and a wave of ghosts pours out from the sea bottom. Those are the ghosts of burned tourists, with skin swollen like a drowned corpse, eyes bulging like fish eyes, and mouths open wide to spit out black blood foam. Drown, it's not enough to burn, you have to drown. Their roars were like waves, mixed with children's cries and adults' curses. Water vapor rose in the air, and the ground was as slippery as mud. Waves of ghosts came over. The first wave was like a tsunami. Pale arms stretched out and clawed at the ankles of the three people. Their nails were like hooks, scratching the skin and leaving bloody traces. "Damn it, this is a tsunami attack!" Jing Xian shouted, swinging the iron rod, and the faint light hit a ghost hand, making a sizzling sound, making it flinch. But the second wave was stronger. The ship tilted, and simulated waves, actually sprayed sewage and blood, spurted from the bottom of the ship, washing over the ground, mixed with rotting fish bones and strips of cloth. Xu Feng's premonition flashed. The third wave jumped from the roof of the cabin, aiming at Jianhong. He pushed Jianhong away, dodge left. There is a jump attack on the top of the ship. Jianhong rolled to avoid it, and a ghost jumped from the mast and hit the ground with splashes of water. Blood foam splashed on his face, which was as hot oil. "Brother Feng, thank you. This wave is so strong, like a heavy rain in summer, the streets are so flooded that people can't breathe." The three of them retreated to the railing beside the ship. The waves of ghosts pushed forward like a tidal wave. The shaking of the ship's hull intensified, and the chains creaked like bones breaking. The air was sticky and cold, and sweat mixed with blood slipped into my eyes, stinging terribly. Xu Feng's heart beat like a drum, and he shifted from personal survival to team protection. He couldn't let them fall. "Jianhong, use tools. Blow up the chain on the side and delay it." Jianhong nodded and took out wire and homemade flash bombs from his backpack. They were wilderness survival tricks learned in forums, wrapped in gunpowder residue. Look at me. He rushed out of the bunker, wrapped the wire around the chain, lit it on fire, bang. The explosion flashed, the chain broke, the pirate ship tilted, the waves sprayed out of control, the ghost was partially washed away, and screamed back into the cabin. It's done. It's delayed. Jianhong shouted excitedly, but here comes the turning point. The aftermath of the explosion shook the ship violently, and a ghost arm sprang out from the water waves and hooked Jingshuan's leg. She screamed and was dragged towards the side of the boat. Ah! Let go! The iron rod fell, the light dimmed, and Xiaoling's strength was temporarily disabled. A deep gash was opened on Jingshuan's leg, and blood and sewage gushed out, staining the ground red. Her face turned pale, she hit the iron railing during the struggle and became dizzy. I can't hold it anymore. The little spirit is sucking resentment, it's overloaded. The team crisis broke out, and the wave of ghosts took advantage of the opportunity. The third wave rushed in, roaring like thunder. Drown, accompany us into the sea. The premonition in Xu Feng's mind was like an electric shock. In the picture, Jing Xian was dragged into the bottom of the boat and disappeared forever. The treatment point was in the medical box behind the cabin, hidden under the old lifebuoy. But to get there, you have to cross the waves. The impulse of sacrifice surged in my heart. In the past, I just wanted to survive, but now, I have to risk my life to protect them. For Jingyi, and for this team. Jianhong, protect Jing Xian. I'm going to get the medicine. He shouted, picking up the fallen iron rod. Although the light was weak, it was enough. Jianhong was stunned, and his blood made him red-eyed. Brother Feng, are you crazy? That wave will swallow you. But he still grabbed Jing Xian and retreated behind the fence. Sister Jing Xian, hold on. Brother Feng is risking his life. Xu Feng didn't look back and rushed into the wave, his feet on the slippery ground like ice skating, and his ghostly arms wrapped around him like seaweed. He swung his stick and smashed one open, blood splashing on his face and salty taste entering his mouth. Go away. I understand your hatred, but you can't harm others again. His premonition guided him to dodge the second wave of jumping attacks and roll sideways into the side door of the cabin. It was dark and damp inside, with water up to knee-deep. Rotting wooden boards were floating, mixed with severed limbs and props. No, the remains of real wraiths, which felt as sticky as rotten meat. He groped for the pile of lifebuoys and pried open the medical box. Inside were old bandages, styptic powder, and syringes, the park owner's emergency medicine back then. Found it. But the ghosts poured down from the cabin roof, and the inside of the wave was like a whirlpool. He was sucked in, and his arms were scratched with blood marks. The pain was like fire, but the spirit of sacrifice made him grit his teeth. I can't fail, the team is waiting for me. He threw away the medicine box and predicted the fourth wave, smashing the bulkhead with a stick to cut off the water pipe, causing flood backlash. Crack! The stick hit, the water pipe burst, and the reverse wave washed away the ghost. He took advantage of the situation and climbed out of the cabin, holding the medicine box to his chest, and rushed back to the fence. Take it! Stop the bleeding first! Xu Feng gasped and threw the medicine. Jianhong caught it and quickly wrapped it around Jingshuan's legs. Brother Feng, your arm is bloody. Jing Xian reluctantly tied it up with tears in her eyes. Thank you, you rushed like that just now and almost died. If it weren't for you, I would have been dead. Her words were like a warm current, strengthening the emotional bond. Jianhong patted Xu Feng on the shoulder, his voice trembling. Brother, you have changed. In the past, you always hid behind, but now you are like a big brother, risking everything to protect us. This team is only stable because of you. Xu Feng shook his head, and his inner transformation was like unlocking, from a survival kid to a protector. The pain is worth it. Stop talking nonsense, can Jing Xian leave? The wave is weak, we can break the defense line. Jing Xian stood up, her legs still weak, but the glimmer of light rekindled, and Xiaoling's murmur sounded like encouragement. Thank you. I'll help you. The three regrouped, and Jianhong's delay in explosion caused the ghost wave to retreat temporarily, and the shaking of the pirate ship slowed down. They walked around the stern of the boat and stepped on broken wood, blood still dripping. The second twist comes. The hidden cabinet door behind the cabin is half open, and a thick leather diary is scattered inside, the complete record of the owner of the garden. Xu Feng's premonition flashed. This is the key, take it away. He picked it up and opened the yellowed page, his fingers feeling rough like old tree bark. The diary details everything. The experiment failed. The phosphorus compound was originally a poison gas prototype ordered by the government and military. The owner of the park was greedy for huge profits and secretly accelerated the test. However, the formula was out of control and produced a spontaneous combustion reaction. On the night of the fire, he wanted to put out the fire on a small scale, but in order to cover up the evidence, he locked the door and set fire to it, causing tourists to die in an accident in exchange for insurance and government hush money. Those children were just in the way. My daughter saw it and she cried. I pushed her into the cabin and let the fire swallow her up. That girl Jingyi peeked at the formula and became a witness. She has to shut up forever. The writing was scrawled and the edges were charred, confirming that the fire was a deliberate attempt to cover up the massacre of a failed experiment. Xu Feng's eyes were red, his anger was like a volcano erupting, and his chest was as painful as a hammer. Internal monologue, what a beast. Jingyi disappeared because of the truth, but I was procrastinating at home, feeling guilty as a knife. But this anger cannot destroy me. It must be turned into motivation to put an end to this evil. Look here, it's written by the owner of the garden, the experiment failed, the fire was self-directed. The government got a kickback, and it's their curse that the ghosts will live forever, he yelled, his voice trembling. Jing Xian sighed, her eyes flashing with tears. My uncle, he ruined everything. I should have said it earlier, but I was afraid. Now, this diary is evidence, let's take it out and expose it. Jianhong clenched his fists, his blood boiling. Yes. Brother Feng, this anger let's burn it, and we'll overturn the altar. Jingyi is waiting. During the interaction, emotions were connected like an iron chain. Jing Xian held Xu Feng's hand. Your anger is our shield. Jianhong handed over the rope. Brothers, let's burn this damn place together. Anger turned into motivation, and the three of them rushed out of the pirate ship area. Although the wave of ghosts receded, the remaining roars continued. The diary was stuffed into the backpack, and the pace quickened. The light of the altar was close at hand, and the hidden entrance at the bottom of the Ferris wheel loomed. The smell of phosphorus fire is stronger in the air, and the cries of the daughter's resentful spirit can be heard faintly. Dad, why? The climax comes one after another, and the suspense is like a web. There is a duel ahead, but Xu Feng's premonition warns, the boss is waiting, with Jingyi's shadow. They exchanged glances, pushed open the last iron door, and stepped into the darkness at the edge of the altar. Their calls for help sounded like a bell, signaling the prelude to the final battle. The darkness behind the iron gate was like a ball of ink swallowing light. Xu Feng's flashlight beam barely penetrated the first few meters, reflecting the outline of the altar. This place is like a twisted amphitheater, with a high platform in the center, and rusty amusement props scattered on the platform, broken wooden horse saddles, bent roller coaster track models. The air is filled with the sour smell of phosphorus fire, mixed with blood and the salty humidity of seawater, making people feel like they have broken into an underground temple. The dome above the head cracked, and the moonlight shone down, illuminating the iron chains beside the stage. The chains hung several empty cages, like cages waiting to contain souls. Jingyi's cry for help came from the depths of the high platform, and it became clearer. Brother Feng, don't come here, it can eat people. The voice was intermittent, like a tape soaked in water, and Xu Feng's heart tightened when he heard it. Is this the altar? It looks like the crazy party the owner of the garden had back then. Jianhong whispered, his hot-blooded eyes flashing in the darkness. He gripped the iron pipe tightly, and the tools in his backpack jingled. Brother Feng, let's go straight to the high platform. Jingyi must be there. Jing Xian held him, the light of the iron rod trembled slightly. and Xiaoling whispered in the wind, "Be careful, the army." Her face was pale, and the wound on her leg was still aching, but her voice was steady, like an aunt in old Beijing admonishing the neighbors not to be reckless. "Don't worry, this is the core of the resentful spirit. The projection of the garden owner's daughter will summon all the victims. The diary said that the source of the curse is in the crystal heart under the high platform. We have to avoid the front." Xu Feng nodded, and a premonition ran through his mind like an electric current. The picture was blurry but dense, and the army of resentful spirits came from all directions, surrounding the high platform like a tide. He took a deep breath, and his inner monologue flashed through. "I used to carry it alone for fear of dragging others down, but now, with them, I can no longer fight alone. Listen to Jingxian, let's take the shadow path on the left and avoid the center. Jianhong, please stay behind and prepare the tools." The three of them advanced in the dark, their footsteps making a soft clicking sound on the gravel. The air around them became colder, and there was a faint roar, as if all the facilities in the park were waking up. Suddenly, the shadows around the high platform began to squirm. The army of resentful spirits has gathered. First, sporadic ghost figures crawled out from the ground, burned tourists, drowned children, and electric shock workers. Their faces were distorted, their eyes flashed like red lights, and their mouths opened wide to spit out black smoke. "Come, play with us, eternal joy." The roars were layered, from the Trojan souls of the carousel, to the fallen ghosts of the roller coaster, to the drowning legion of the pirate ship. The whole park gathered the resentful spirits, and dozens of figures came like black clouds. Phosphorus fire burst out from their palms, heat waves rolled in, the ground shook, and gravel bounced up and hit the three of them. The smell of electricity and burnt meat mixed in the air, causing eyes to sting and skin to get goosebumps. "Damn, there are so many!" Jianhong shouted, swinging the iron pipe and smashing away an approaching ghost hand, but more shadows swarmed up and clawed at his backpack. "Brother Feng, what should we do? We've been captured." Xu Feng's mind buzzed, Golden Finger was overloaded. Premonitions poured in like a flood. The first wave of group attacks rained phosphorus fire from the left, the second wave of arc net blocked the road from the right, the third wave of drowning ghosts dragged them forward. There were too many pictures, too fast. His vision was mottled, he felt dizzy like seasickness, his knees weakened and he almost fell to his knees. Sweat slid down his forehead and into his eyes, salty and stinging. "Hold on, go around to the left to avoid the fire and rain. There's a broken wall on the right, climb up." He gasped and shouted, his voice trembling, but he still insisted on guiding the way. The inner conflict is like a knife. This ability was originally a life-saving straw, but now it is like a burden, weighing me down and making me breathless. They can't fall, they have to be taken out. The three of them followed his guidance and flashed through the first wave of phosphorus fire sideways. The green flames grazed the corners of their clothes and burned black holes. Xu Feng's head became dizzy, and his premonitions were still flashing, but he gritted his teeth and grabbed Jianhong's arm. "Jianhong, use your tools. Attract their firepower, let's climb the wall." Jianhong was stunned, his blood boiling, and his eyes were red. "Okay. Brother Feng, you lead the way, I will stop the rear." He threw all his belongings from his backpack, flash bombs, wire explosives, and even the last insulated gloves, and threw them all into the group of resentful spirits. "Eat Grandpa's food. You bastards." The explosion flames flickered, electric arcs exploded, the resentful spirits screamed and dispersed, the phosphorus fire was blown away, and the smoke filled the air, causing the army to be temporarily confused. But Jianhong's backpack was empty, all his tools were sacrificed, and he himself was scratched in the arm by an electric ghost claw, bleeding profusely, and his face was twisted in pain. "Damn, it's okay. This injury is just a mosquito bite. Run." Xu Feng pulled Jingxian up the broken wall, feeling a surge of heat in his heart. Jianhong's sacrifice was not recklessness, but trust, which transformed him from a lonely leader to a leader who relies on his team. Short inner monologue, "Thank you, man. In the past, I always carried it alone, but now I understand that teamwork is the strength. Jianhong, come up. let's work together. He stretched out his hand and pulled Jianhong over the wall. The three of them rolled into the shadow road. The roar of the resentful spirit chased behind them, but the firepower was attracted and they were temporarily relieved. Jianhong gasped, his arms were bloody, and he grinned, Brother Feng, your premonitions are awesome, and they are so accurate even when overloaded. The tools are gone, but you are here, that's enough. Xu Feng patted him on the shoulder, his voice hoarse, thank you, your firepower saved lives. Next time, we will find a way together, and we won't do it alone. Gratitude was like a warm current, diluting the dizziness, and he grew deeper, no longer a lone wolf, but the head of the pack. The shadow passage was narrow and damp, and the walls were covered with moss and felt sticky like mud. They groped forward, the low roar of the army of resentful spirits still echoing, but Xu Feng's premonition gradually stabilized and guided them to turn to avoid the second wave. Jing Xian explored the way ahead, and the faint light of the iron rod illuminated a hidden door. It was an iron gate on the side of the high platform. The door was engraved with vague runes, like the crazy graffiti of the owner of the garden. This door. I remember, it was mentioned in the diary, it is the staff passage leading to the soul prison. She whispered, took out the old key from her pocket, and inserted it into the keyhole. Little spirit, help. The iron rod flashed, and the door clicked open. Inside was a small room, and the air was filled with a sweet rotten fragrance, like expired candy mixed with blood. In the center of the room, there is a crystal cage, and a weak soul fragment emerges from it, Jingyi's. She is not an entity, but a translucent shadow, with a pale face and half-closed eyes. Her body is covered with green phosphorus threads, like cursed vines. The fragments trembled slightly, and a faint voice came out, Brother Feng, you are here, I am tied up, she won't let me go. Xu Feng's heart felt like it was being twisted, and he rushed forward, pressing his palms against the cage, which was bone-chilling cold. Jingyi. It's me, I'm here to save you. A premonition flashed, the fragment is the key, but touching it will attract the resentful spirit of her daughter. He didn't retreat, and the fear in his heart surged like a tide. It's all my fault that she has been missing for so long. I was late and made her suffer like this. But this fear can no longer lock me down. For her, I have to break through. Jing Xian came closer, the iron rod's faint light swept over the phosphorus wire, and the fragments became clear. Look, this curse is a trick of the park owner's daughter. She used Jingyi's memory as fuel to maintain the army. After Jingyi peeked at the formula, she was captured and used as a hostage. The fragments of her soul were taken out of her body and trapped here to feed the resentful spirits. Jingyi's fragments trembled and her eyes opened with tears shining, Brother Feng. When there was a fire, I went to the park to play. I accidentally broke into the storage room and saw the park owner and officials talking about chemical weapons. They said that the phosphorus was wanted by the military and could be used as poison gas, but the owner was greedy and wanted to sell it to the black market to make more money. When the experiment got out of control, he locked the doors and burned the garden. It was not an accident, but a revenge. He hated the lack of money from the government and hated the tourists for crowding out the business, so he used fire to clean everything and sacrificed us as sacrifices. After her daughter was burned to death, her evil spirit took over the curse and sought eternal revenge on those who betrayed her father. The suspense explodes like a bomb, and the owner's revenge motive is revealed, not simple greed, but twisted hatred. He regards tourists as his enemies and the government as an exploiter. The fire is his revenge show. The death of his daughter perpetuates the curse and he specializes in hunting down intruders. Xu Feng's anger burned like fire, and his fear broke through at this moment. In the past, I was afraid of facing my past mistakes, afraid of not being able to save her. But now, I wish this could not be passed down. I want to liberate her and end this madness. Jingyi, I swear, I will smash this cage and set you free. He shouted, and pressed hard with his palm. The phosphorus thread broke, and the fragments trembled and merged into his palm, and a warm current rushed into his body, making his premonition clearer. Jingyi's voice echoed in her mind, Brother Feng, be careful with your daughter, she is waiting on the high platform, use my strength to fight against her. Outside, the roar of the army of evil spirits was approaching, and the iron door trembled as if it was about to be knocked open. Jianhong stood up alertly, the blood on his arm was still dripping, but his blood was not diminished. "Brother Feng, did Jingyi's fragments give you a buff? We have to rush to the high platform to fight against that little devil. The tools are gone, but there are iron pipes and sticks, which are enough." Jing Xian nodded. The light of the iron rod rekindled. Xiao Ling said that there is a cursed heart on the high platform. If you smash it, all souls will be liberated. But my daughter will use her final form to summon the projection of the owner of the garden. Xu Feng clenched his fists, and Jingyi's warm current turned fear into determination. He turned around and pushed open the side door, and the three of them rushed out of the small room. The phosphorus fire of the resentful spirit was approaching the end of the shadow path. The green light on the high platform flashed, and the daughter's cry sounded like a bell. "Come on, burn, flood, electricity, come with me." The peak of the adventure came, and they accelerated their pace. In the darkness, they rushed towards the whirlpool of the final showdown. The smell of phosphorus in the air was thicker, and the suspense hung like a knife hanging from the ceiling. The green light on the high platform pulsed like a will-o'-the-wisp, and Xu Feng's footsteps made a rapid clicking sound on the gravel. He felt Jingyi's warmth flowing in his chest, like a faint stream of hot blood, diluting the aftermath of dizziness. The entrance to the shadow tunnel behind him has collapsed, and the roars of the army of resentful spirits are coming like a tide. The green flames of phosphorus fire are licking the air, and the heat wave is mixed with electric odor and blood, making the nasal cavity hot. "Quick! There's an iron ladder at the edge of the high platform, let's climb up." Xu Feng roared, the premonition still flickering in his mind, but the picture began to blur, like seeing flowers in a fog. He took Jianhong's arm, while Jing Xian waved her stick in front to clear the way. The three of them were like three disciples of a beggar gang rushing through the gates of hell, their breathing echoed in the night wind. Suddenly, the entire park roared. It is not the low roar of a single facility, but the awakening carnival of the whole park. The music of the carousel is distorted into a scream, and the hooves of the wooden horse hit the ground like thunder. The roller coaster track creaks and turns, and the carriage roars like a derailment. The waves of the pirate ship spray blood, and the cries of the drowned ghost are mixed into the wind. The iron arm of the Ferris wheel rotates, and the gondola is grasped like a giant claw. The lights were all on, and the dazzling neon and phosphorus fire intertwined into a network, illuminating the ruins like a doomsday party. The air was as sticky as boiled syrup, and the smell of burnt, electric, and seawater all came up, making you breathless. Damn it! The garden owner's daughter woke up the whole garden. This is the ultimate chase. Jing Xian shouted, and the iron rod smashed open an electric ghost crawling out of the ground, causing sparks to fly. Xu Feng's heart sank, and the premonition flashed like fragments of a kite with a broken string. The Trojan pounced from the left, orbital debris fell like rain, and the wave flooded from behind. But every time he flashed, his vision darkened for a moment, his headache felt like a hammer, and Jingyi's warmth began to cool down. "My golden finger is weakening," he murmured. His knees weakened and he almost fell down. Since entering the park, this precognition has saved him countless times, turning him from an ordinary boy into a leader, but now, it is flickering like a flashlight with a depleted battery. The inner monologue is like a whisper, "I can't rely on it anymore. I used to always rely on this damn thing. Now, I have to use my own brains and courage to carry it." "Brother Feng, what's wrong? Your face is as white as a ghost." Jianhong turned his head. The blood on his arm was still dripping, but his blood was not diminished. He waved the iron pipe to ward off the soul of a Trojan horse. The thing's eyes were flashing red, and its mouth opened wide to reveal gear-like teeth. "Hold on. We have Jingyi's strength, don't let these bastards succeed." Xu Feng gritted his teeth and stood firm, shaking his head and saying, "There is a premonition that something is wrong, I can't see clearly. But we can't stop, only on the high platform can we have a chance." He took a deep breath and felt that the warm current in his chest was not premonition, but Jingyi's trust, which turned him from a dazed young man who relied on ability to a tough guy who relied on his will. His pace quickened, and he took the lead to rush up the iron ladder. The ladder shook like a drunkard. The wave was coming below, and blood splashed on the soles of his shoes, which was biting and cold. The ring of phosphorus fire at the edge of the high platform was like a wall of fire, with the shadow of her daughter's ghost entrenched in the center. The little girl's figure swelled into a giant shadow, and her cries were like thunder, "Dad, they are here to steal the joy, burn them all." The facility army she summoned went even crazier. A wooden horse jumped onto the edge of the platform, its hooves smashing the stone slabs. Fragments of the speeding car shot like arrows, grazing Jingxuan's shoulders, leaving bloody marks. The drowned ghosts of the pirate ship climbed up the ladder, and their arms were wrapped like seaweed. The atmosphere of terror reached its peak, and the park was like a living hell. Screams, roars, and heat waves intertwined, making people's ears ring and their eyes dazzled. Sweat and blood mixed with water slipped into their mouths, making them want to vomit. "This crazy bitch treats the whole park like a toy." Jianhong cursed, and the iron pipe smashed the arm of a drowned ghost, but more shadows came over him, and he was bumped by the wooden horse and rolled to the edge of the stage. "Ah! Brother Feng, help! Here comes the turning point." Jing Xian rushed over, grabbed Jianhong's collar, and pulled him back hard. "Don't panic. There is a solution in the diary. This curse is maintained by phosphorus crystal energy. The owner of the garden built a hidden energy source, a gearbox under the high platform. Her knowledge was like a life-saving straw, pouring out from her niece's bloodline memory, like a craftsman in old Beijing unlocking the ancestral mechanism. She crawled towards the iron box beside the stage, and the iron rod illuminated the keyhole with a faint light. "Little spirit, lend me some strength." The light flashed, and the box clicked open. Inside were rusty gears and green transistors, pulsating like a heart. This is the core pump. Wraiths use it to extract soul energy to feed the facility. "Jianhong, although you have no tools, you know how to be a repairman." Jing Xian shouted, her eyes shining with determination. Jianhong gasped and climbed up, his arms twitching in pain, but he was filled with enthusiasm and grinned. "Ha, I know this job well. When I was a kid, I repaired bicycles in the alley, no problem." He knelt in front of the box and used an iron pipe as a wrench to pry open the transistor interface. Sweat dripped into the gears, making a sizzling sound. The attack on the facility became more fierce, and a fragment of the flying car hit the edge of the box, sending sparks flying everywhere. "Hurry up! These ghosts are going to tear us apart!" Xu Feng shouted. He waved his fist to fend off a Trojan horse claw. The premonition was completely dark, and his vision was only chaos. But he didn't panic, and his heart was as solid as iron. So what if Goldfinger weakened? "In the past, I relied on it to escape, but now, I use my fists to fight with my brain." He recalled that when he was a child, Jingyi held his hand in the alley. "Brother Feng, you are so brave, let me play with you." The warmth was like sunshine, dispersing fear and turning him from dependence to independence. He smashed the wooden horse's eyes with a punch, red light burst, and the scream of his soul receded. "Go away! This is not your game anymore." Jianhong's hand quickly turned the gear, click, click, click. The transistor interface was disconnected, and the green light was half weakened. "It's done! The energy source has been restored to a reverse pump. It now absorbs the power of the resentful spirit instead of giving it to it." The roar of the facility suddenly became chaotic. The Trojan horse slowed down, the flying car fragments fell to the ground, the waves of the pirate ship flowed backwards, and the drowned ghost was sucked back to the bottom of the ship. The daughter's resentful spirit screamed, and the giant shadow trembled. "No! My joy, Dad, save me!" Part of the curse was broken, and the army retreated, but the core phosphorus fire was still burning. The heat wave rolled on the high platform, and the air was twisted like an illusion. Jing Xian gasped, "This one is 80% broken. My daughter's hatred is too deep, so I have to go straight to the source." But energy reversal can summon allies, those surviving ghosts who are unwilling to take revenge. As soon as he finished speaking, several figures of white light appeared in the shadow of the high platform. The little boy's soul took the lead, followed by the surviving ghosts of the Ferris wheel and the electric shock victims of the bumper car park. They were not twisted monsters, but translucent and peaceful, with tears of relief shining in their eyes. "Thank you, you repaired the pump, we didn't want to harm anyone," Xiaoling whispered, her voice like a wind chime. The second twist breaks out, they gather into an alliance and reveal the garden owner's weakness. Xiaoling approaches Xu Feng and touches his hand, Jingyi's warmth resonates, and a picture flashes in his mind. The garden owner was not invincible back then, he had a fatal fear, his daughter's cry. The hidden page of the diary shows that during the arson, he heard his daughter scream and was shaken to his core. His weakness is emotional attack, and he uses warm memories to counterattack hatred. The garden owner is hiding in his daughter's projection. His soul is afraid of memories. "Use Jingyi's fragments to wake him up," Xiaoling said, using white light like a shield to ward off the remaining phosphorus fire. Xu Feng's heart trembled, and memories came flooding back, the warmth of childhood sweethearts, when Jingyi took him to ride a rocking horse in the amusement park when he was a child. "Brother Feng, we will always play together, we are not afraid of the dark." That laughter was like sunshine, breaking through the haze in his heart. In the crisis of Goldfinger's weakening, this emotional turn strengthens his determination, transforming him from a determined warrior to an emotional guardian. "Okay. Let's use this to break her," he shouted. The warmth in his chest exploded, and the white light gathered into an arrow, shooting directly at his daughter's giant shadow. Jianhong waved his iron pipe to protect him. "Come in, allies. Smash this kid's head." Jingshuan's iron rod connected with white light. "Uncle's weakness, let's poke at it." The surviving ghost spirit army pounced on him, the phosphorus fire ring cracked, and his daughter cried out more sadly, "Mom, no. Dad, why did you leave me?" The projection of the owner of the garden emerged from the shadow, and the middle-aged man's face was distorted, and his eyes flashed with humanity for a moment, and his weakness was exposed. The pinnacle of terror, the remnants of the facility counterattacked, the Trojan horse hit the edge of the high platform, and rocks fell like rain, the speed train track broke, and debris fell like meteorites, the wave poured in, and blood flooded the ankles. Heat waves, electric arcs, and screams intertwined, the air was like a furnace, and sweat evaporated into mist, blurring the vision. Xu Feng took the lead and rushed towards the center, his heart as steel, no more relying on prediction, "This is my battle." The arrow of white light pierced the projection, the garden owner screamed, the giant shadow of his daughter shattered, and the green light scattered. But she didn't fall, and the backlash came. A wave of hatred wrapped around Xu Feng like a black mist, making him recall the most painful guilt. On the day Jingyi disappeared, he was supposed to be with her, but instead he was playing games at home. "No. I was wrong," he murmured, but Jingyi's voice rang in his mind, "Brother Feng, get up. Warmth is not a memory, it is you now." The emotional climax surged, and he shook off the black mist and punched the source of his heart. The sound of the phosphorus crystal shattering was like thunder. The Allies' white light flourished, the army of resentful spirits retreated, the roar of the facilities stopped, and the lights in the park gradually went out. The daughter's projection knelt down, and her cries turned into sighs, "Dad. I'm tired." The figure of the garden owner faded away, revealing his human face, "I'm sorry, my greed ruined everything." The cracks in the curse expanded and the high platform shook, but Xu Feng and the others stood firm. Jianhong supported Jingxian, "Brother Feng, we won half the game. Where is Jingyi's body?" Jingxian gasped, "The source is broken, she will come back." But the daughter's final hatred is not over yet. The suspense is like embers, a low roar comes from the depths of the park, and there is a faint light flickering on the road to the final liberation. The three of them exchanged glances and rushed towards the collapsed center of the stage without retreating. In the darkness, warm murmurs continued. The stones on the high platform shattered under his feet, and Xu Feng felt that the whole world was tilting like a drunkard. He held on to the remaining edge of the iron ladder, and the wind roared in from the cracks, mixed with the sour smell of phosphorus and fire, which stung his eyes severely. Jianhong was breathing heavily on the left side, and the blood stains on his arms flickered in the moonlight, like red lanterns in the dark night. Jing Xian waved the stick in front to open the way. The faint light of the iron rod wavered, and the little spirit's murmur was intermittent, like a cat meowing in an alley, with a hint of urgency. Brother Feng, there is a hole in the center of the platform. The green light is coming out of it. It must be the hiding place of the owner of the garden. She shouted. Her voice was louder than the roar. Her footsteps crushed a piece of rubble, and the clicking sound echoed on the edge of the collapse. Xu Feng nodded, the warmth in his heart still flowing in his chest. Jingyi's fragments were like a fire, burning him so much that he couldn't care less about his dizziness. Rush! Don't let it have a chance to breathe. The three jumped off the last section and rolled into the pit in the center of the platform. Dust hit their faces and they coughed together. In the center of the pit, a vortex of green light swirled, the air twisted like a heat wave, and the ghostly projection of the owner of the garden, Uncle Li, faintly emerged. The middle-aged man's figure became more solid, his suit was burnt black, his eyes were like green enamel, and his mouth split into a weird smile. You, these bugs, dare to destroy my paradise of joy? His voice was like sandpaper sharpening iron, low and harsh, echoing in the pit and making the walls tremble. The floor at the bottom of the pit cracked, revealing the old foundation of the ghost house. This place was originally the core of the park. The fire broke out from here. Now, the collapsed stones fell down, and the wooden beams on the roof broke, making a loud roar, like the collapse of an old Beijing courtyard, with dust flying and covering the sky. Happiness? Your happiness is a pile of corpses. Xu Feng yelled, holding the crowbar tightly. Although the premonition in his mind was weak, Jingyi's warm current filled the gap, and the picture flashed. The owner of the park will summon the remnant soul of the facility to emerge from the bottom of the pit. He jumped up from the edge of the pit and rushed towards the projection, but the owner laughed and waved his hand. Green light exploded, the walls of the pit collapsed, and the remains of the ghost house came to life like living creatures. The broken wood of the carousel sprang out from the ground like giant claws. The track fragments of the roller coaster twisted into whips and were whipped into the air, flashing with electric arcs. The blood waves of the pirate ship poured into the bottom of the pit, and the arms of the drowned ghost were wrapped like seaweed. The attack on the facility was like a storm, with heat waves rolling in, the smell of electricity and blood hitting his nostrils, and Xu Feng's skin burned like blisters. Damn it, he controls the remaining souls of the whole garden. This is the ultimate form. Jianhong shouted, and the iron pipe smashed open a wooden horse's claw, but the fragments grazed his leg, leaving him bloody, and he gritted his teeth in pain. Jing Xian, distract them. Brother Feng and I will go straight to Huanglong. Jing Xian nodded, the iron rod shimmered brightly, and Shaoling's strength was like a white shield. She rushed to the edge of the pit and smashed a track whip with the stick. Come on. You old ghost. Why weren't you afraid when the garden was burned down? Now it's your turn to try it. Her voice was filled with the hatred of a niece, like a street ant cursing, sharp and down to earth, attracting half of the remnants of the facility. Jianhong's blood boiled, and he reluctantly followed. Yes. Sister Jing Xian, let me help. He threw out the last wire, wrapped it around the arm of a drowned ghost, pulled it hard, and pulled it into the blood wave. The ghost shrieked and fled. The two of them worked together to disperse the fire. The pit was filled with smoke and roaring, but the garden owner's green light went straight to Xu Feng, and the projection stretched out its hand, and phosphorus fire shot out like an arrow. Boy, where's your precognition? Come on, guess how this blow will kill you. Xu Feng's mind was buzzing, and the premonition was like intermittent radio waves. The picture flashed, a fatal blow shot out from the bottom of the pit, and the green light turned into a giant claw, scratching the heart. He took a step back, and the ultimate fear came to him, not the hatred of the garden owner, but the shadow in his heart. If it fails, Jingyi will be trapped in the curse forever, and I will never be able to atone for my sins in this life. Since entering the park, he has always avoided this fear, relying on precognition and team support, but now, with Goldfinger weakened and the team scattered, he has to face it on his own. Sweat slipped into his eyes, salty and stinging, but Jingyi's warmth was like a whisper. Brother Feng, don't run away, fight back. His inner transformation was like lightning. He gritted his teeth. jumped out of the shadow of escape, and actively fought back. Guess? I don't want to guess, I'll smash it. He dodged the phosphorus arrow sideways, and the iron crow pierced the projection's chest. His premonition was accurate, and the crow head hit the core of green light. Sparks exploded. The owner's projection shook, and his roar changed tone. Impossible, how did you? The collapse intensified, and the roof of the ghost house completely collapsed. Wooden beams fell like rain, hitting the edge of the pit with a loud noise, and dust covered the sky. The garden owner roared and controlled more remnant souls to counterattack. The Trojan horse's claws hit Jianhong, the orbital whip whipped Jingxian, and the blood wave flooded the bottom of the pit. The three of them reunited while gasping for breath. Xu Feng's arm was scratched by the debris and bleeding profusely, but his eyes were firm and he changed from passive defense to active attack. Jianhong, Jingxian, protect the flanks. The source is at the feet of the projection. That green crystal is the cursed heart, smash it. Jianhong gasped and laughed. Brother Feng, you are such a cool counterattack. Come on, buddy, block these crappy things. He used his body to knock away a wooden horse and Jingshuan's stick. The light swept through the blood waves. Yes. Let's join forces and put an end to this old thing. The fierce battle was like a whirlpool, and the roars of the remaining souls of the facility merged into one. The heat wave distorted the air. Xu Feng felt his skin was roasting, but fear had turned into fuel. He jumped over the blood waves and rushed directly to the feet of the owner of the park. Here comes the turning point. The pulsation of the green crystal intensified, and the garden owner's projection protected it, with phosphorus fire blocking the way like a wall. You can't destroy it. This is my eternity. But in the green light at the bottom of the pit, a warm white shadow emerged, Jingyi's complete soul. She is not a fragment, but a semi-entity, with long hair flowing, eyes as clear as the alley's spring water when she was a child. White light wrapped around her body, dispersing the surrounding green mist. Brother Feng, I'm coming. Her voice was like the chirping of cicadas on a summer night, gentle but firm. She reached out and touched Xu Feng's shoulder. The warmth was like electricity, filling the gap in his premonition. The heart of the garden owner is not a crystal, but a relic he hid in the old clock in the ghost house, a burnt pocket watch with the vows he and his daughter engraved inside. That is the source of hatred. If you smash it, you can free all souls. But be careful, he will use your daughter's cries to bite back your guilt. Xu Feng's heart shrank. Jingyi's appearance was like a light of salvation, illuminating the darkness in his heart. Guilt flooded over him. On the day of her disappearance, he was supposed to accompany her to the park, but he was playing games at home and missed her distress message. Jingyi. I'm sorry that I was late and made you suffer like this. He murmured, his eyes moist and his voice trembling. But Jingyi smiled and held his hand tightly. Brother Feng, the past mistakes are not the end. Now, you are fighting back. This is atonement. Smash it together and let me go home. Her words were like warm wind, blowing away the fear. Xu Feng felt his chest lightened, and he changed from a prisoner of self-blame to an executor of redemption. The inner monologue is short and relieved. Thank you for making me brave. This is not the end, this is new life. Okay. Let's join forces. Xu Feng shouted. White light converged on the crowbar, his premonition was fully activated, and the picture was clear. The relics were in the projected bell wreckage. He rushed forward, and Jingyi's soul turned into a light shield to block the phosphorus fire. Jianhong and Jingxian followed, and smashed the remaining soul with iron pipes and sticks. Brother Feng, the clock is there. Jianhong roared, his blood making him jump over the blood waves with pain, and smashed open the remains of the clock, revealing a burnt pocket watch with a cracked surface and eternal joy, father and daughter eternal engraved inside. The garden owner's projection screamed, and his daughter's cries were like needles piercing her brain. No! My dad, you ruined everything. Hatred came back, and the black mist wrapped around Xu Feng, making him recall the most painful scene, the phantom of Jingyi being caught, and his inability to save her. But Jingyi's white light body protection said, Brother Feng, think about our promise. Xu Feng gritted his teeth, shook off the black mist, and smashed it down with a crack. The pocket watch shattered, the green crystal pulsation stopped, and the phosphorus fire was extinguished. The garden owner's projection collapsed, and his roar turned into a wail. "Daughter, I'm sorry, my greed." The giant shadow of the daughter faded away, the cry turned into a sigh, white light bloomed, and the resentful spirits of allies surged up to absorb the remaining hatred. The ghost house completely collapsed, with rocks raining down, but the three of them formed a circle to protect themselves. Jingyi's soul merged into Xu Feng, and the warm current healed the wound. "It's done, the source of the curse is destroyed." Jing Xian gasped, the iron rod fell, and the glimmer of light dissipated. The white shadow of the little spirit appeared. "Thank you, rest in peace." The roar of the park gradually stopped, all the lights in the facilities were extinguished, the air became a little fresher, the burnt smell faded, and only the low whistle of the wind blowing through the ruins remained. With most of the suspense resolved, the army of resentful spirits turned into white smoke and dissipated. The projections of the garden owner and his daughter knelt down, their soul fragments floated up, and tears of relief flashed in their eyes. "We are free," the garden owner murmured, and his form faded. But the climax was not over yet. There was still a wisp of green mist at the bottom of the pit, and there was a faint roar. The road leading to the exit outside the garden loomed, but the collapsed rocks blocked half of it. Xu Feng helped Jianhong and Jing Xian, and Jingyi's voice rang in his mind, "Brother Feng, take me out, and go home." With firm eyes, he stood up from the transformation of growth. "Let's go. It's over, let's go home." The three of them stepped on the gravel, the warm murmur in the wind continued, the darkness gradually receded, but there was a faint light ahead, waiting for the final liberation. The green mist at the bottom of the pit was slowly churning like a dying beast. The afterimage of the garden owner was struggling in the whirlpool, making intermittent growls, like a wild dog panting in the night in an old Beijing courtyard. Xu Feng was breathing heavily, still holding the crowbar in his hand, and the blood-stained blade reflected the faint moonlight. He looked at Jianhong and Jing Xian, who were leaning against the edge of the pit, their faces covered with dust and sweat. Jianhong's arm was hanging, and Jing Xuan's leg wound was bleeding faintly, but there was no panic in their eyes, only persistence. "It's not over yet, that old ghost is not dead yet," Xu Feng whispered, the warmth in his chest, Jingyi's soul fragment pulsing slightly, making him feel like drinking a bowl of hot mutton soup, which warmed his heart. Suddenly, the green mist condensed into a complete phantom of the garden owner. He floated in the center of the pit, tall and twisted, with his suit in pieces, his eyes as green as will-o'-the-wisps, and his mouth split open to reveal a row of blackened teeth. "You think it's over after destroying the pocket watch? My hatred will never die." Phantom roared, the voice echoed like thunder, the stones at the bottom of the pit trembled, the remaining phosphorus fire sprang up, and the heat wave licked the air, making the skin hot. The low roar of the facility started again, although it was weaker, but the whole park seemed to be reflecting on the light. The merry-go-round in the distance made its final creak, the roller coaster track shook slightly, and the blood waves of the pirate ship were still churning around the pit. The owner of the garden stretched out his claws and aimed directly at Xu Feng. The green light shone like a net, and the burnt smell in the air became stronger, mixed with old hatred, making people breathless. Xu Feng's heart tightened. This was the garden owner's last-ditch effort. The phantom read his weakness, the long-buried fear. If he failed, everything would be in vain, Jingyi would never come back, and he would carry the shackles of self-blame all his life. Images from his childhood flashed through his mind. Jingyi was crying in the alley, and he hesitated for a long time before coming forward to comfort her. On the day she disappeared, he was supposed to be with her, but he was checking his phone at home and missed her call for help. Guilt came over me like a tide, making my legs half weak. "Boy, you should have come earlier. Do you regret it now?" The owner of the garden mocked. Green Claw approached, heat burned his cheeks, and sweat evaporated into mist. The premonition weakened, leaving only vague fragments, but he did not retreat, and his heart exploded like a volcano. No more escape. From the stupid young man who entered the garden to the tough guy he is now, the crises along the way made him understand that courage is not about not being afraid, but about facing your fear and smashing it. Regret? I will end you now. Xu Feng roared, warmth rushed out of his chest, and Jingyi's voice whispered in his head, Brother Feng, believe in yourself. He jumped up suddenly, and the iron crow stabbed out like lightning, directly hitting the core of the phantom, the green heart. The garden owner screamed and scratched his claws, the vibrations at the bottom of the pit intensified, and stones fell like rain. Jianhong and Jingxian pounced. Jianhong used an iron pipe to block the green mist. Brother Feng, fuck him. We'll protect him. Jingshuan's iron rod swept away with a faint light. Uncle, your hatred has ruined too many people, it's time to wake up. The three of them joined forces, and the iron crow hit the green heart. Crack! There was a crisp sound, the heart shattered, the green mist exploded like fireworks, and the phantom of the garden owner collapsed. Disintegrated into pieces, the roar turned into a sad sigh. Daughter, my fault. The roar of the entire park stopped suddenly, all facilities stopped, the lights went out one by one, the white shadows of the ghost tourists emerged, tears of relief flashed in their eyes, they murmured thank you, rest in peace, turned into white smoke and drifted away, blending into the night wind. The curse is lifted. The heat wave at the bottom of the pit receded, and the air became a little fresher, leaving only the low whistle of the wind blowing through the ruins. Xu Feng sat paralyzed on the ground, the iron crow fell, and the warmth in his chest surged. Jingyi's soul appeared completely, her translucent figure floated in front of his eyes, her long hair was light, and her smile was as bright as the sunshine in the alley when she was a child. Brother Feng, you did it. Her voice was as gentle as the spring breeze, and she reached out to touch his cheek. The warmth was like a mother's hug, which made the wound heal. Xu Feng's eyes were wet, and his inner transformation was like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. From that fearful boy to the tough hero he is now, at this moment, he felt that all his shackles were broken. Jingyi, I'm sorry for keeping you waiting for so long. He choked, holding her hand, the touch was illusory but real. Jingxian came closer, the faint light of the iron rod was still there, and Xiaoling's white shadow surrounded her. Jingyi, your soul was pulled away by the curse. Now that the source has been destroyed, it is time to return to the body. But it must be released with warmth, otherwise it will disperse. She whispered, guilt flashing in her eyes, as the niece of the garden owner, she also bears the shadow of her family. Jingyi turned around and smiled, Sister Jingxian, thank you for bringing them here. When you hid the diary, you were afraid, not out of bad intentions. Now, let's end it together. Jingxian nodded, raised the iron rod, and the dim light gathered into a circle, wrapping Jingyi's figure. Little spirit, use your strength to let her merge into the light and return. The white light flourished, and Jingyi's body, which was originally trapped in the old cabinet hidden by the altar, slowly floated up and emerged from the crack at the bottom of the pit. Her embodied soul said a warm farewell, Brother Feng, Jianhong, Sister Jingxian, thank you. The secrets of the park will disperse with the wind. Let's go home and live a normal life. Her figure melted into her body, her eyes opened, and her pale face flushed, as warm as the first ray of dawn. She hugged Xu Feng gently, we will always be childhood sweethearts, we will never be separated again. Then, she melted into the light, her body fell limply to the bottom of the pit, her breathing was steady, she came to life. Jingyi. Xu Feng rushed forward and picked her up, tears falling down, and the joy of rebirth surged in his heart. Jianhong grinned and reluctantly patted him on the shoulder, brother, cow. It's all perfect now. Jingxian sighed, with tears in her smile, we have to get out, this pit is going to collapse. There was a faint light ahead, which was the exit outside the garden, but the collapsed rocks blocked most of it, the ruins were like a maze, and there was still a low sound in the wind. The remnants of Xu Feng's premonition flashed, a vague path emerged from the crack on the left. Follow me, there is a gap on the left that leads to the employee passage. He said, his voice as steady as a big brother, picked up Jingyi and led the way forward. In the past, he always followed Jianhong, but now, he has become the guide. This growth is like wine, the more you taste it, the better it becomes. The three of them moved forward in the dark, with stones still falling sporadically, making a sound like the lingering sound of firecrackers. After Jianhongdian, his arm twitched in pain, but he took out the last tools from his pocket, a small shovel and the remains of a rope. "Brother Feng, there is a traffic jam here. I'll dig it." He was so excited that he dug out the rocks with the shovel, and his face was slippery with sweat mixed with dust. "When I was a kid, I dug crickets in the alley." "Oh, this is nothing." Jing Xian supported Jingyi's body and used the iron rod to support the road. "Jianhong, come on. The exit is close." Xu Feng's premonition guided them to avoid the falling rocks. When a huge boulder hit, he shouted, "Dodge right." The three of them rolled into the side seam, dust hit their faces, and they kept coughing. But they didn't stop. Jianhong's shovel finally dug open the iron door. Crack! The exit appeared, and cold wind poured in, bringing with it the fresh smell of the earth outside. They rushed out of the ruins and stepped onto the path outside the garden. The moonlight shone down and the iron fence swayed slightly in the wind. Xu Feng put Jingyi down. She opened her eyes, and her first words were, "Brother Feng, are we going out?" Her voice was weak but bright, like a rainbow after the rain. Xu Feng nodded and hugged her tightly. "Yes, it's over. It's all over." Jianhong slumped on the ground, panting with laughter. "Damn, this night was worth it. Brother, from now on, I will listen to you and stop rushing around." Jing Xian smiled and rubbed her leg injury. "Team, forever. Friendship is like warm wine, watering the heart, turning the pain of crisis into memories." The sky turned white, dawn broke, and the amusement park returned to tranquility. The abandoned facility stood as still as a tomb, with vines covering the arches, and the wind blowing through the rusty signboard. The words "Happy Paradise" faded eerily in the morning light, leaving only desolation. Xu Feng and the others called the emergency number, and Jingyi was sent to the hospital. When she woke up, everything was like a dream. She whispered to Xu Feng, "Brother Feng, thank you for changing. In the past, you were always hesitant, but now you are like a hero." Xu Feng smiled, and his heart was as calm as a lake. Growth is not overnight, but tempering along the way. From a fearful boy to a tough man, he redeemed his promise. A few days later, a police investigation was launched. Jing Xian handed over the diary and files, and the corrupt collusion of the garden owner was exposed. Military experiments, arson cover-ups, and government seals were all dug up. News headlines exploded, forums in Beijing heatedly debated the truth behind abandoned amusement parks, and stories of ghosts turned into warning legends. Xu Feng and Jianhong were sitting at the barbecue stall at the entrance of the alley, eating mutton skewers, beer foam overflowing. "Brother, this is a battle." Jianhong raised his glass, his passionate eyes shining. Jing Xian and Jingyi also came. The four of them clinked glasses and laughed like fireworks on a summer night. The truth has come out, and those souls have rested in peace. "We have also been reborn," Xu Feng said, with a warm current of satisfaction welling up in his heart. The fear dissipates, leaving only courage and friendship. The shadow of the park will always remain in the past. The morning light fills the edge of the city, and the amusement park is like a sleeping giant beast, quiet and harmless. Xu Feng held Jingyi's hand and walked in the sunshine, thinking, in this world, if there is light, there is hope. The story is over, but their days have just begun.